McAfee Show.
There will be no rules for our guests, for us, for the things we can talk about.
Yes, speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions or my thoughts or anything like that.
While being relatable.
I haven't had that manufactured fake-ass celebrity that a lot of people have whenever they go on those big networks. I've had a chance to really build my crew, build my following, build my audience.
And ridiculous.
What am I supposed to do? So I'm supposed to look at something that I can definitely afford and say, nah. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
The Pat McAfee Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Good day, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. Big day, big day. And a beat drop, Twine. Thank you. Normally, super positive, upbeat show, okay? That's kind of what our show is. And I'm not saying we won't be that for the entire show, but there's something very serious that just got broken by the Adam Schefter that just happened in the NFL. And I do believe, since I have a little bit of knowledge on the subject and friends that have had the same exact procedure as said player that got injured by said doctor, I would like to speak on it and expound on it a little bit because it does sound absolutely crazy. Let's dive into it. Adam Schefter just reported that Tyrod Taylor, the reason why he did not get to play this past weekend, and in turn, Air Bear started for the first time against Kansas City Chiefs that ended with Butker hitting a 58-yard field goal, then another 58-yard field goal, but a highly contested matchup between the Chargers and the Chiefs. It is now being reported that the Chargers team doctor accidentally punctured his own quarterback, Tyrod Taylor's lung, just before kickoff Sunday while trying to administer a pain-killing injection to the quarterback's cracked ribs. League and team sources have told ESPN, according to my sources. Adam Schefter says. Now, this sounds terrible whenever you give your first read at this. It's like, especially the way Schefter worded it there. The Chargers team doctor punctured his own quarterback's lungs, and that sounds absolutely bad. And I was kind of mind blown by this, and believe it or not, we were given a heads up on this yesterday, but we're not a big news breaking world. I don't want to dive into the news breaking world because there's a bunch of piranhas and sharks in there. Don't want to ever dive in there. So I asked around to a couple former teammates and friends of mine that have maybe gotten the same procedure and asked, how the hell can something like this happen? This sounds terrible. And the answer I got from everybody who has had this procedure done, which by the way is Marcaine, which is in the Novocaine, there's another cane, then the Marcaine, which is a numbing agent, basically, that gets shot directly into the area that is injured. For instance, in this particular case, the cracked ribs. Now, the reason why it's done so close to game time is because it only lasts 4.5 hours. So they can't get it done in the morning because the numbness will wear off. They can't get it done the night before because the numbness will wear off. They have to do it right before the game, which is why it was a surprise to everybody that Air Bear was starting over Tyrod Taylor, including Air Bear, and I would assume the entire Chargers offense. Now, what happens though? Just like whenever you're in surgery, now granted this happened to the people I talked to, I'm not 100% sure it happened to Tyrod Taylor, but just like whenever you go in for surgery for anything, they tell you the possible side effects. Like, hey, this could potentially happen because of this surgery, this could potentially happen. It's like basically the small print at the bottom of contracts. Like, hey, this is all the good that can come from this, but also this can happen. Every person that I talked to that got a similar treatment as this said that they were told by the doctor that there was a chance that the lung could get punctured in the process, because when you're giving a shot into the ribs, the lung obviously is right there. I'm not 100% sure if Tyrod Taylor was told that before he got the shot. I'm just telling you what I was told by people who got the exact same situation here for either bruised ribs or cracked ribs. Allegedly, this is a much more common practice than even I knew about. I've probably seen guys potentially get this shot before and didn't even know this was happening because it had nothing to do with me. But I guess this is a pretty common practice whenever you have a cracked rib or a bruised rib, because it works like a charm, I was told. And I was also told that they shoot it a little bit above wherever the crack or the bruise is, and it lets it just settle in, and for 4.5, 5 hours, you feel amazing. It's that next day you see, or that night when it wears off, that you feel absolutely terrible. Thus why I am incredibly happy that I played a position where no motherfuckers were hitting me anywhere where I could potentially need that. So that is what happened. We obviously T's and P's for the punctured lung and the cracked ribs for Tyrod Taylor, but from my knowledge of my research, calling people that got a similar thing, they said that they were told that was a possible outcome. It's like 0.1% that it could happen, but just like in surgery, just like anything in the medical field, there is obviously a chance that something bad could go happen. It happened to Tyrod Taylor. I'm not giving an excuse for the doctor. Hey, do your fucking job right, especially whenever the people that told me, they said it's like a 99% chance it goes well and nothing happens. So if you follow that 1% and it's a failure, obviously the doctor did not do great here, and I would assume would have to answer for that. But that is what I've been told about this entire process. That is why it was such a shock to everybody, including Air Bear, who said he was surprised and they just said, let's go and do this. So I think that is why everything happened the way it is. I've been told, and I'm not a doctor, they are not doctors, but a punctured lung unpunctures itself somehow. I don't know what that means. Body. I guess it just, shout out to the human body for just unpuncturing itself. He could play week to week is real. He could potentially play next week. What do you say, Diggs?
Breaking news just from Ian Rappaport. He is not going to play this week. Herbert is going to get the start.
Okay, so there we go. There's breaking news. Not playing this week, so his lung isn't completely unpunctured. And also, I think that is why, because the way it went down and him losing the starting job was actually the Chargers' fault. That is why Anthony Lynn came out and said, unless Tyrod isn't 100%, he's still our starter, because I would assume Anthony Lynn, former player, was like, we kind of fucked this guy here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So whenever he was asked about who's the starter, even after the incredible debut by Air Bear in the game that they had against the Super Bowl champs, Anthony Lynn probably was like, he couldn't say it, obviously, because they weren't 100% sure, because at the time they were probably still reviewing, and Anthony Lynn probably didn't get a chance to do a full checkup on how his life, whatever the case. Or maybe he did know, and he didn't want to be like, yeah, Tyrod Taylor's out. By the way, yeah, we're the reason he's out, and he is out. We made this as easy as possible. Like, Anthony Lynn couldn't say that, so that's why I think I was confused by the way Anthony Lynn handled the question. I think a lot of people were potentially confused, but now we know Air Bear starting this weekend. Tyrod Taylor not only has cracked ribs, but also a punctured lung. Hopefully that unpunctures quickly. We're not doctors, we have no idea, but it is nice to know that this type of thing does happen and has happened in the past. We probably just haven't heard about it for whatever reason, and this is something that happens on a regular basis with success. So it's not like they were going above and beyond to make him put him on the field. This is something that has happened in the past. All the boys are here at Tone Diggs, Boston Connor, Ty Schmidt, at Viva Lazito has a poll up right now. Oh, yeah. It does not involve punctured lungs, but we'll get to that in a second. Yep. Diggs, the thought of, as a just fan, casual fan, and you read that tweet, your immediate thought is?
My immediate thought is, well, one, shout out Tyrod and quarterbacks and NFL players for playing with cracked lungs.
Yes.
Cracked ribs, sorry.
And by the way, just going in there and being like, yeah, go ahead and give me a shot. I'll go out there and stand in the pocket and just get crushed yet again. This is going to suck. I probably won't be able to breathe or sleep tonight, but at least I'll be able to play 4 quarters of NFL football.
Hell yeah. Number 2, I think the team doctor was probably watching practice and saw that Air Bear was a little bit better.
Oh,
so
wait
decided
a minute.
Tony. That's the Italian in him.
Diggs, that's our entire take is like that was the doctor definitely messed up here.
Potentially had the Chargers +8 or whatever.
Oh, right.
Yeah, what did Telesco tell him?
At Boston Connor, how do you feel about the entire process here whenever you think about a doctor messing up? Because I think the immediate outrage was, why are the Chargers such a dump of a franchise and that's your doctor?
They're always hurt.
They're always hurt. And also, you just moved from San Diego to Los Angeles. You couldn't fill up. And there's a lot of things that make you think like, oh, the Chargers are just a poorly run organization. And we don't hear about this type of story in the world that we're in very much. And I think that is a very fair reaction. Yeah. But that's why I called, by the way, because once again, I have to reiterate, we had this 27 hours before Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have a lot of respect. According to my sources, I had a lot of respect for him. Rappaport, who dunked on Connor. He's Tom Pelissaro, who dunked on these insiders. It's not our job, okay? We're not diving into that. But I did want to find out, because I had the reaction of like, well, every doctor experience I had with Colts was a good one. So whenever people were like, oh, NFL doctors are thinking only for the team and they're forcing guys back, I'm like, I did not have that experience at all. Like, I did not have that experience at all. But then you hear stories like this and people are like, well, here we go again. And I just had to make the call. It was like, is this bullshit or what is this? And I was told, hey, this is something that does happen, and there is a chance this can happen every single time it happens.
If there's one thing we've learned from 2020 is that doctors, 1, they screw up, and 2, they can know nothing.
What are you?
I'm just throwing that out there. But after Herbert took the Chiefs overtime, and now if he wins in this week 3, it
sucks for Tyrod.
There's no
It
chance
sucks for
Tyrod Taylor starts again.
Because who knows how Tyrod does in that game against Chiefs? What if Tyrod goes out there and does exactly what Air Bear did?
Might win.
What if Tyrod has the best game he's ever had against Super Bowl champs, and they're like, okay, here we go. We got a great mentor, which we all knew for Justin Herbert. Just go ahead and sit back and watch this guy that just beat the Super Bowl champs. And now we're at a different spot. Now we're like, did you see Herbert out there?
Ran over a guy, knocked the guy out.
Knocked a guy out on it. I mean, there's a whole conversation about that. And it's all because of a very low percentage outcome happening moments before the game time. And that is insane to think about. I didn't know that happened. Obviously, by the way, I would assume Andrew Luck got this done numerous times because I think that guy's ribs look like a cobblestone road. I think it was like a cobblestone road at one point for how many times he got killed. That guy, I mean, I would assume it happened to him. There was other people on our team that I was told have done it before. This has happened before. I'm just like, I'm happy I never had to have that done. And also, I'm happy nobody just got canceled moments before the game.
Wild world you guys live in.
All the people that I was told to get this done, I was like, imagine if we lose that guy 20 minutes before the game. I mean, that is catastrophic almost. Chargers did that. And by the way, shout out to Anthony Lynn. Shout out to that coaching staff. Shout out to Herbert.
Yeah.
They put the Super Bowl champs on the ropes. Now, granted, Super Bowl champs had a lot of drops and things like that don't normally happen, but still, put them on the ropes when you find out you're starting QB1, who's probably got all the reps all week, get just at the last second out of nowhere, and then boom, you get a guy, you put up a good fight. What up, Ty?
Do you think there will be any repercussions for this doctor? Because, like you said, you don't ever really hear about this. And can you imagine what it would have been like if this would have been like a playoff game, like the first round of the playoffs, and he needs this, and it's like, oh, guess what? Your starting quarterback can't play anymore because I fucked up his injection.
Well, and by the way, we already live in that world with COVID.
Yeah.
Anthony Lynn's probably like, listen, we're already fighting a worldwide pandemic. I don't need you shoving needles into people's lungs. But I guess you don't really know. I'm not.
Can't tell.
Because when I first saw this, what I thought of was like, oh, this is like if you like go get blood taken, and the nurse, it takes her like 4 different times to like get the needle in to draw the blood.
Yeah, and you would hope, by the way, that the NFL doctors. Oh, here's a fun, and I don't want to bury NFL doctors at all. But NFL doctors are normally like the highest certified doctors in the area. You know, the last time they tried to draw blood or anything like that, that's
way
nurses,
long time ago.
That's other up and coming doctors. So it's very interesting, kind of, because there'll be like a new doctor that'll come in because maybe a doctor was sick and he's a high up doctor in Indianapolis, and then he's got to do the IV or whatever, get it in there. The last time that guy did that, potentially, is 20 years ago. So you got one of my team. Oh, I'll never forget it. I'm not going to say his name, and I'm not going to say the doctor's name. It was not one of our Colts doctors. It was another doctor that was subbed in because one of the doctors was out there. And halftime, he's trying to get an IV or whatever. And this guy is literally playing like whack-a-mole with his arm.
That commercial with the doctor.
Just like boom, boom, boom. And he's like, it wasn't. He's a doctor, so there's standards and all that. But I watched like because I was getting like sick almost. I'm like, yo. And the teammate of mine that was getting it done, he was obviously so tired. But after like the third one, he's like, yo, what are we doing here?
You nervous?
Sorry. And then he leaves. And then on the sideline, I mentioned it to one of the people on our medical staff, and they broke down that they were like, when was the last time you think that guy had to give an IV or get in there? I was like, I have no idea. He's like, legitimately, probably 15 years ago. I'm like, well, why is that guy giving IVs? Why? And they're like, well, he's a doctor. I'm like, what? You just said, though, that he's not. So it's a very interesting thing because they are very certified doctors, very good doctors. I would assume in Los Angeles, by the way, probably a pretty well-known doctor.
Expert.
Hopefully.
But maybe in this particular world, hasn't done it in a while. I'm not giving any excuses because it has a low failure percentage. But the fact that it happened, it's like you got to start looking for how the fuck does this happen to this guy?
Yeah. I think that now correct me if I'm wrong, the doctor, they should have the high level doctor, like the doctor that you're talking about that hasn't done it for 15, 20 years, who deals with the major injuries and stuff like that. But they probably should have someone who does do IVs and stuff like that and needles every single day and doing IVs also there.
Hey, listen. What do you think this travel budget is, Bob? You want an orthopedic surgeon? You want a brain doctor?
NFL.
Need a spine doctor?
Long off season.
Also, we need an IV specialist. I mean, for real, though, that is what it should be. And I would assume there's going to be a lot of conversations coming out about this because this was a starting quarterback. Yeah. And if it has happened before, we probably haven't heard about it because it was somebody that we didn't really know. And they're playing against the Super Bowls. I mean, this is Super Bowl champs. It is a wild, wild time to be alive.
Herbert goes into unprepared. Imagine if he goes and, God forbid, something bad happens.
Might be better, by the way, because you're just kind of
Not
kinda
thinking.
like-
So you think finding out the 5 to 10 seconds right
defense.
before was better for
Can't
him?
even think about it. Which, by the way, might be good for him moving forward. For his whatever. And I'm not saying he's not a confident person. We talked to him. He seemed like a very confident person, even though he's quiet and he played quiet and he played awesome. But I think getting dropped into something like a moment before is almost better than having a full week of just like, oh, they might do this, they might do this, they might do this. I think it's better for him that it happened. But obviously, it happened because Tyrod's lung doesn't work anymore. I asked, like, what does a punctured lung feel like? And they were like, I guess it's just very hard to breathe. I'm like, they probably think it's COVID too. I mean, because COVID, I guess, is hard to breathe. I mean, what a wild time to be a lung, dude. You got Tyrod's lung right now has been entrenched in battle.
Hercules of lungs.
COVID-19's trying to get in there. Now we got needles jumping in there.
Don't forget about
Smog
the
in
LA
LA.
smog.
LA smog. I mean, there is big time thoughts and prayers to Tyrod Taylor's lung. It's been through a lot in the last couple.
He had to live in Cleveland.
Well,
It's true.
and
The river was on fire.
yeah, but Buffalo is such fresh air.
It is.
Gorgeous,
You know what I
especially
mean?
during the winter.
Well, especially with
Buffalo
Niagara
wings.
Falls and the wind.
crisp, it's nice.
up there.
Has Tyrod have the most terrible career for
Luck.
who
Whoa,
he is?
geez.
Terrible
Come
luck.
on.
Not
I
because he's a great
mean-
player. He's a great player.
Just
but look,
punctured his lung.
he went to the playoffs at Buffalo. See you later, Tyrod. Get out. Goes to Cleveland.
Hurt.
Doesn't start too well. Yeah, gets hurt, and then he has to lead off for a number one. So everyone wants to see the number one. And then he goes to the Chargers and
Phillip
gets-
Rivers leaves after 17 years.
Yes, he has to follow Phillip Rivers' footsteps, and then again they draft a quarterback in the top 5, and everyone wants to see the backup quarterback.
Maybe Tyrod Taylor has the most unlucky professional quarterback career in the history of anything, and we hope that his lung comes back. Zito, will you please introduce the poll? Because this is a big, by the way, not a big medical show, but I'll tell you what today, big medical show.
Big medical
Big medical
Get your
show here.
PhDs out.
The question that Zito has for the poll at Viva La Zito is a big one because this will lead us into a break to talk about on the other side because
Ooh,
it is.
tease poll.
Well, no, we won't actually because Charles Davis.
damn.
Yeah, we'll talk about it before we get to Charles Davis. So Charles Davis, by the way, is joining us today. Deuce McAllister, Saints Hall of Fame member. Now he's a Saints color commentator. We'll talk to him about the game on Monday night in Las Vegas. And Matthew Berry, the man who created fantasy football.
Oh, Mr. Roto.
I know nothing.
go.
I know nothing about fantasy football. That conversation should be good, and obviously AJ Hawk will join us. But after the break, there's a big COVID conversation right now. Zito's poll is
Yeah, since the Big Ten left zero wiggle room for COVID, will there be a... Oh, I thought my phone was ringing. Classic. Will they be able to finish the season? Yep. 33.3%. Nope. 66.7%.
okay. So there's been a lot of games in college football that have been postponed, suspended, all these things. Notre Dame being the most recent. Then there's conversation between Houston's head coach Dana Holgorsen and Baylor's athletic director. There is now a Big Ten football season happening in the fall, but out of spite, we think that the Big Ten set it up in a fashion that is basically destined for failure. 8 weeks, can't miss any games. You got no wiggle room at all. It's going to be interesting to watch how it all plays out. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk to Charles Davis, the number 2 overall color commentator for CBS behind guess who? Tony Romo. Talked to him about the start of the NFL season. He was there for the Ravens' first game. Last week, he was there for the Giants and Bears game. And we'll talk to him about everything coming up. Can't wait to chat with him. He is also the voice of Madden. Pretty big deal. Madden fans do not love Madden, but the voice of Madden normally loved out there. Can't wait to talk to Charles Davis and COVID on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Wednesday, September 23rd.
Aaron today said that
Sweet
basically
Jesus.
Scott Stapp launched the career for Aaron Rodgers, and Scott Stapp then replied to Pat's tweet about it. So basically, Scott Stapp is now in our lives.
Yes!
Woo! I just heard the news today. It seems my life is gonna change. I take it on. I take them out my side. I'm hearing on and all my faith with arms wide open.
That's incredible.
That
What a
Boys,
good
we
day.
did it.
Hey, let's welcome him with arms wide open.
We do. Scott Stapp, this is an open invitation. Whenever you want to come in, please.
We love you, Scott.
We love you,
We love you, Scott.
Love you, buddy.
We love you, Scott.
Oh, shit. Hey, Steven, fuck you. Don't cut.
And it is off the wall.
Don't cut. This is a good at bat. Hey, nice pitch. I think I just pulled a hammy. Hey. Back. Hey, fuck you, Steven. What inning?
Top of the second.
Jesus.
Here comes McAfee.
I saw that thing jumping out of the glove. Hey. What was that? Would have been nice to take a nap earlier.
Another throw.
Get back.
First. He's going back on it now. Coming over the center fielder.
James
Harris
Harris.
makes the catch.
Cousin. James. What was that? And the catcher goes, I had to give you one.
1-1 pitch.
Let's go.
Line drive right
Son of
at
a
the
bitch. This is a good at bat. Oh, in my head, it was like, oh, yeah, you're going to drop this for sure. What the fuck are you even doing here? Why did we sign up for this? What's going on? It all comes down to this. My last at bat. Hey, I'm going to get on. You bring me home.
This is your life on the line, fucker.
Let me tell you something. You're going to take an L, okay? You're going to take one. So I think that the close your eyes and swing method is perfect. Oh, this is hardball.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Jesus. You have no prayer.
Number one, right fielder, McAfee.
Oh, boy.
McAfee at the plate.
Doing it for the brand. It's the Pat McAfee Show on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here Wednesday, September 23rd. Right before we went to break there, we talked about COVID kind of dropping bows on the college football season. It's been very intriguing because there is an entire list of games and teams that have got postponed or canceled. And it's a lot larger than I could have fathomed it being, to be honest with you. But it is something I think it's very real, especially with the amount of players in college football and also the amount of contact that people have outside of the college locker room. With this list, the teams that have been already postponed or canceled, oh, it's loading, Foxy says. I gotta dive into the thing here.
No, it's in there.
Okay, so North Carolina State at Virginia Tech, rescheduled. SMU at TCU, rescheduled. Marshall at East Carolina, rescheduled. Army at Rice, East Carolina at South Carolina, UL Monroe at Troy, Florida International at UCF, Tulsa at Oklahoma State, Temple at Navy, Louisiana Tech at Baylor, Rice at Marshall, UAB at Rice, Virginia at Virginia Tech, Houston at Memphis, BYU at Army, Central Arkansas game, UNC Charlotte at North Carolina, FAU Georgia Southern, Houston at Baylor, Memphis at UT. Notre Dame now is the most recent one at Wake Forest here that is being rescheduled. And this is so interesting. It is so interesting because we saw this with the MLB, with the Marlins early. Three of their games got postponed. I believe St. Louis Cardinals were also a team that had some games postponed. There was another team or two. Phillies. And now that college football is happening, we're all very intrigued to see how it would work out. They're getting tested, I think, like a couple times a week or every other week or something like that. They have contact tracing, so if one person gets it, another 10 people will get it. And now there's coming out stories that Dana Holgerson chirped the Baylor athletic director when the Houston-Baylor game was postponed. So I reached out to sources with knowledge on the subject and asked, why was the most hilarious headline I've seen in a long time at the bottom of ESPN? Dana Holgorsen chirping irks Baylor athletic director is maybe one of my favorite headlines I've seen for a long time. I reached out to somebody. I was like, hey, what's going on? Why is somebody being chirped, or why is somebody irked by the chirping? And what I was told is very intriguing, and it's telling us how college football is actually working this year that I don't think anybody has really talked about. I guess there's 2 to 3 medical calls throughout the week from teams that are playing each other where they are expected to be fully transparent in their information that they have. So if a game is going to be postponed, they'll know in one of those calls. One of the first calls, the second call, third call. I don't know how many are. I was told there's numerous calls. So I would assume that's more than 2, because numerous, if there was 2 calls, they would say 2, I think. So I'm trying to do the math here. So I think there's 3, maybe 4 calls, who knows, weekly between the medical people, and they're being told to be fully transparent so that each team can get a heads up on whether or not the game's going to happen. I guess in this particular case, Baylor, for whatever reason, maybe they didn't know or without knowledge, was not being fully transparent with the Houston squad all the way up until 22 hours before the game. Houston thought they were playing the game. Then they were told, no, it's being postponed. So you could see how Houston, who's been in a situation now with a couple of their games being rescheduled, that not because of them, normally because of the other side, getting a late heads up when they're being expected to be fully transparent because, hey, we're all in this together. Dana Holgorsen could potentially want to stir the pot a little bit and be like, hey, I just want to let all you motherfuckers know that we've been getting our shit right and we've been fully transparent, but because it's going to happen. I think everybody is under the understanding, but you're under the understanding.
Under the guise.
Under the understanding that this is potentially going to happen to any team. It's not like you can predict it. It's not like, hey, this is because your school is running things differently. But that full transparency that is being expected in these medical conversations, I think that people are like, hey, we have to uphold that if we want to keep moving forward. In which leads us to the Big Ten only having 8 straight weeks with 0 wiggle room. Whenever we saw all those games already get postponed or rescheduled, I mean, that's going to be a tall task for the Big Ten.
1,000%.
Hey, those players, though, are literally going to have to not leave their rooms. Because you have no... You DoorDash, you Postmate, somebody shows up, they sneeze on the bag, and with what we're learning, like, is it air travel? Is it not air? I mean, who knows how anybody gets it? No wiggle room from the Big Ten is an interesting decision. But a league that has been doing a great job is the NFL.
Hell yeah.
The NFL has released their numbers. There's 0 positives among players and coaches, only among personnel. This season has gone off with pretty good football, pretty good football thus far. We all have been craving it. We've all been loving it. And I've enjoyed the addition to CBS's broadcast crew from the man who was once at Fox. He's the voice of Madden. Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, Charles Davis.
Hey, Pat.
Charles, your shirt just brought a couple people to their feet in the office here. I assume you're a big, what's that Kevin Costner show?
Oh, yeah, Yellowstone.
Yellowstone. You're a big Yellowstone fan, huh?
I am a huge Yellowstone fan. My broadcast partner, Evan Washburn, is as well. Costner, Cole Hauser, Kelly Riley.
Yeah.
What they're doing on that show, I could go on for days, but I'm loving it, absolutely loving it. I've never set foot in Montana, and now I want to move there. That's how good it is, and I just can't wait. I can't believe that we're in a hiatus now, obviously. The way year 3 ended, if all the guys there are Yellowstone fans as well, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So we can't wait to see who comes out of the carnage.
All right.
Oh, no.
All right.
Haven't got that yet.
Pat, I'm old enough to remember Who Shot JR, which really triggered the cliffhanger on television, nightly television, on the TV show Dallas.
Oh.
This was a similar type of a cliffhanger for people of my vintage. So anyway, and before we start, congratulations to you on everything that you have accomplished, done.
No.
So many more things coming your way. You have hit, like Martin Luther King used to talk about the zeitgeist, right? Hitting at the moment. That big thing. That's you so far.
Hell yeah.
Phenomenal. Thank you for having me on. And college football, NFL, you've already pointed out where the differences are going to be. There's not a governing body. I know there's the NCAA.
They're out of business.
But these conferences run themselves.
Yeah.
And we saw it immediately where the Power Five splintered and couldn't do everything the same way so that all would play at the same time, et cetera. But if you don't have an overall governing body, unlike the NFL, which you operate from a commissioner's office and the teams take note, plus the age differences and the differences in how you do things, the professionalism of playing and knowing that if you violate your professionalism, you're violating your livelihood and your check versus a college kid, 18 to 22, where consequences, they're there, but do you take them as seriously? And I'll leave it with this. I saw it in the New York Times, Ed Orgeron, Coach O, LSU Tigers. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty close, when they asked him about it, I told the guys they can't go, they can't go to the bars and the places, we can't do that. I really want you to limit what you're doing on college campus, when you go to parties and all that, when we have those days off, we got to do that. I told them all, just get your girlfriend, take her out for a nice date, take care of business, and get on home. Now, the take care of business part, that was the money shot for me. And I'm pretty sure Coach O didn't quite mean it the way it came out. No. But I thought, this is too good. Yeah. 2020, the New York Times and Coach O mashed together. And I'm pretty sure he finished with "Go Tigers." But, who knows?
Charles, you've been around. You did college football. Now you're in the NFL world. You know a lot about a lot of things. And I thought the biggest difference between college football and the NFL and why the NFL would work and why college wouldn't work, amongst the litany of things you just read off there about no governing body, is because there's 110 guys, and there's only 35 of them playing. So it's going to be very hard to get that redshirt freshman who has no chance of playing time on a Friday night before a game because he's not in a team hotel to be like, I'm all in because my team, I think there's a lot of things there. And that's why the Big Ten only given 8 weeks to get an 8-game season in. I think it's the Big Ten presidents being like, okay, you wanted to play? Good luck. Let's figure it out. But let's go to the NFL now. Because the NFL is working in a successful fashion. You move over to CBS. The first week, you get a chance to see the Ravens. And the big question was, will Lamar Jackson be able to duplicate what he did last year? Will he be able to stack on another year of greatness? From getting a chance to watch him with live eyes, which not a lot of people have been able to, that Ravens team seems to be a really, really, really good squad right now.
I would agree with that, absolutely, Pat. And one of the things that struck me was you're always looking for these guys to improve. So let's take basketball very quickly. You always heard about Michael Jordan every year doing something with his game in the summertime, right?
Yeah.
People said he couldn't hit the outside shot. He started doing it. Magic Johnson was the same way. When he came into the league, he was not much of a shooter. And by the time he ended it, he was a very reliable three-point shooter because they kept adding. Kobe Bryant, remember his source of his conflict with Shaq was that Kobe would work on his game in the summer. Shaq would work on his puns and his funny stuff and say, I'll get in shape and be ready for the playoffs. And that would drive Kobe crazy. Well, Lamar Jackson did all of that this summer, even with COVID going on. He wanted to be a better deep ball thrower. We saw that in game 1 right away. But the other thing that goes along with that is Marquise Brown. Hollywood Brown's healthy, and he added to his game. I saw guys who were dependable last year add to their games even during COVID and get better. Plus, no one had a better offseason in terms of draft, free agency than the Baltimore Ravens. A 14-2 team, to me, got better. I mean, you had Derek Wolfe, Calais Campbell. At one point, it was going to be Michael Brockers, but remember that he failed the physical, and that's when they added Derek Wolfe. When you go draft late in the draft, and you get probably the top inside linebacker in Patrick Queen. When you're able to get J.K. Dobbins, maybe the top runner at the top of the second round, they got better. So preseason executive of the year, for me, it was Eric DeCosta. And 14-2 teams don't get recognized that way. But this was a team that's 14-2 and got better, and I saw that in evidence in the Cleveland game in the opener.
I mean, the Chiefs would have an argument because they were somehow able to pay everybody everything that they needed. So, I mean, who knows how that works? Two very different things. They got better. They were able to keep a team together for a long term.
Great point.
So there's two different conversations there. But whenever you're doing these games, you're doing interviews with coaches. You're doing interviews with players. These are all done via Zoom, I'd feel. And, and how is, like Harbaugh, for instance, has come out and said, free the Big Ten. Like, so I understand probably how he views this thing. But when you're talking to them about this entire process, what is the reaction? Are they just like, hey, we're trying to block it out and not worry about it? Or are they attacking it head on? Like, we have to deal with COVID first before we can deal with anything else?
Every one of them we talked to attacked it head on. And now for them, the word routine comes to mind, even though it's a lousy word to use because there is no routine in 2020. We know that.
Yeah, true.
But that was the thing, was how did they attack it from the beginning? So head on from the start was their key. And when we talked with the Ravens, they talked about how that organization from ownership on down really took it seriously and made sure that their facility, everything was set up the right way, and it put a lot of players' minds at ease. We talked to a few players that all said, I'm a veteran. I thought about opting out, and then I saw what we were doing, and it eased my concerns. When I talked with the Giants and the general manager, Dave Gettleman, he talked about how Ronnie Barnes, their longtime head trainer, had told him early in the process, this is going to be bad. We got to start getting ready. And that was in March of last year, maybe even February of this time frame. And the Giants went ahead and took care of that. So my point being, they got out, those who got out ahead of it, and I think all the NFL teams did to plan for it. Now you just know it's part of your routine every day. You come in, you get tested, you got to do these things. And if you want to be a pro, if you want to play in the NFL, and you want to take care of your team and take care of the rest of the people in the league, you will follow the process seriously. That's why I think the NFL has done an excellent job. And the people involved, Pat, have been a part of it, to your point before about with the college kids and trying to keep all that. It's a much different go in college, and it's a much harder go, I believe.
Have you got a chance to talk to any of the coaches about the mask rule? Because it seems like that's going to be impossible. And by the way, you are one of the voices of the NFL, so you can't say it. I'm going to say it while you're here. I would like everybody to know, while I'm saying this, that this guy next to me does not agree with what I'm saying probably. I think the fact that they are getting the same amount of tests as the players, they're going through the exact same routine, and to get on that sideline or in that area, you have to be the most negative from COVID person ever. And if you had COVID, you allegedly have the antibodies that would fight against COVID. The fact that they're getting $100,000 and then $250,000 to the teams, I think that is a massive punishment for something that is probably making the coaches' jobs about 15 times more difficult when it comes to communication with their players with that mask. Have you talked to the coaches about the mask? I assume they understand, like, hey, we got to set the tone for the rest of our country and everything like that. But I would assume coaches are about fed up with this entire thing.
We have not, actually, Pat, because it hasn't been an issue up until now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Meaning that the fines weren't handed out until after our last week's games, but we haven't talked with coaches this week. Let's just say I'm sure it'll come up.
It's a lot of money.
Let's just say I'm pretty sure someone will have it in their queue to either ask the question or the coach might lead off with it, and we'll go from there. Because, look, we all want to do the right things in this country. We all want to get us back on our feet the way we're supposed to. We all know that wearing a mask in these situations is the right thing to do, not just for yourself, but for the people you're going to encounter. But the testing, everything else for us to get into the stadium, we've all tested negative. I wouldn't be surprised at all that that's what the coaches are communicating back to the league right now. Like, I get where you're coming from, but we've all tested. Like, we can't get in if we're positive. So if we're all negative, is it as big a deal? And I think you also hit it, Pat. The league's going to tell them, we're setting an example for the rest of the country. And there are plenty of people in the country that we all know that are saying, hold up a second. You guys are getting tested every day. You guys are playing ball. I can't get tested this part of the country for me, to this town, to these people. You see where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
They want to make sure that they're telling the rest of the world we do treat it seriously as well.
Yeah, I think what you just gave there is the exact right answer. But the thought of those coaches who have to speak into a little microphone that's going into a headphone in a helmet that was somebody that's tired and running around, and then they got to be muffled like Bane. I mean, it is. There's going to be some mad. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Pat, you've got to take it back to the people. Give it back to the people. And look, we're all creatures of habit, right? So if you have your mask on and you're trying to talk into your thing to send your play calls in, you're covered. No one can see your mouth. They can't read it. Even if you have the telescope, you can't do anything. But because we're creatures of habit, what have we always done with a play call?
Oh, yeah.
So we do that with the mask. So we are doubling down
Shout
to make sure you can't read our signals. And I don't know if that's affecting communication or not. But it is interesting because I see people go, well, they already have the mask on, and I always say, yeah, but we're creatures of habit. This is how it works.
Which is, by the way, why it's hard, I think, for a lot of people to have that mask. Is that a dog in the back, by the way, or a kid?
That is my daughter's dog. She's in visiting, and Martin is the little guy. We've got 3 other Goldens, and Martin's a little mutt, and he's like inch high private eye compared to them. And I think he's expressing right now, you guys need to leave me alone. And I just dated myself with inch high private eye.
That's okay. Somebody will get that. Tell the dog we said hello. Connor.
I certainly will. Martin, quiet.
Hey, that boy Martin, go ahead and get it. Hey, you want a treat, Martin? You want a treat? You want to go outside, Martin? You want to go outside?
Pat, you're killing me.
I know.
He's had 3 treats already. What are you trying to do to me?
That's 100% right.
He's going to be doing laps all night to get back to playing weight.
My wife is listening to this right now at the house, and our dog just heard me say treat and outside, and my wife is currently doing the same exact thing you're doing. Like, shut up. Connor's got a question for you.
Yeah, Charles, you've been a staple of the Madden video game franchise for quite some time. Have you ever gone in and told the video game developers that they've released the same game every year since 2014, or do they already know that and they just don't give a shit?
This is hot on the internet, Charles. This is a hot conversation in the Madden community on the internet.
It is, and I get it. You know, it's funny. I've gone off of social media now for probably about a month and a half. So
congrats,
I don't read or hear the same things I've heard for the previous 5 years that I've been on the game, which is exactly what you just said.
Yep, same thing.
And I get it because my son is now 22, okay, about to turn 23. And when I took the job, the first thing he said was, congratulations, this is great. Now, if you're going to do this job, can you make sure you vary what you say so that I don't know that every play you're going to say the exact same thing? And I was like, wow, thanks for the shot right out of the gate. But I hope everybody understands we actually are trying. I mean, we are absolutely trying to do that and vary it. Now, the game makers, they're way above me, all right? They're at 40,000 feet. I'm not. I can't speak to that part. I know that they are trying as well. But for us talking about it, myself, Brandon Gaudin, my play-by-play partner, we're trying. That's all I can tell you is like, God, did I say that for the 15th time again? Or can I vary that one? Can this one trigger differently? We're giving it our best shot. I've had to go to the thesaurus people and say, hey, sit me down and help me out. I need a different word. What's the synonym, the antonym? Give me something different for this word right here. What can I say that's different than block and tackle?
Well, Charles, it's interesting because whenever you're calling an actual game, that's once a week for 4 hours at a time. Then, in some similar situations might pop up. Video game, though, they are spending a lot of time with Charles Davis. They're spending 7 hours daily with Charles Davis. And there's a lot of similar situations that are just popping off. I've actually heard that the Madden gig for a commentator is more work than anything else. Because I've asked, I'm like, how do they pick the Madden people? Like, that's pretty cool. And they're like, tough job. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, tough job. You're recording a lot. You got to update a lot of things. It's a lot of work. So I want to give you and your guy, Brandon or whatever, a massive shout out for being a part of it. Because I've been told by everybody in the business is like, one of the worst gigs is the Madden gig because you are just constantly just re-recording it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Appreciate that. And I'll be very brief here. When you talk with Phil Simms, when you talk with Jim Nance, when you talk with Gus Johnson, when you talk with Brad Nessler, Kirk Herbstreit, I think you'll get a similar answer. We all love doing it, but it can be, for everyone at home, all right, we're going to do this 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7. Outside linebacker makes this tackle on the running back, on the receiver, on the tight end.
Oh, man. Jeez. Hey, be entertaining. We need energy.
And by the way, give me something different, man.
Good, Dick.
Charles, you just watched him for 4 quarters. Is Mitch ever going to be able to put 4 quarters together?
Come on.
That is the question, isn't it? The absolute question. And if there's one criticism I have, Martin.
Dog says no.
No way.
Martin says yes. No. Martin just says
he
no.
weighed in, didn't he? Yeah. If there's one major criticism I have of what I did on Sunday, didn't examine it as deep as we probably should have. We saw him carry over his 4th quarter against Detroit to a really nice start against the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the second half, went cold. And that's what they're looking for. The ability to be consistent for 4 quarters. We are in year 4. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option on him. He's got to prove it. Now, they asked me during the game, Ian Eagle said, hey, are we going to see this? I said, ask me about Game 5, because I want to give him the chance this year to all the different changes he's made, all the mechanical things. He had to beat out Nick Foles when the whole country said Nick Foles was going to take that job. All of those things. But if we're still having the same issues by week 5, guys,
hey, you want a treat?
Then we got a problem on our hands. And that's where Chicago is right now, because they're in a division where they're going to have to score points. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is scoring points, man. He's not slowing down at all. So in that division, when you go up against Green Bay, this isn't the days when we were kids, Pat, and they beat up each other and someone won 14-10. Those days are gone. Green Bay's going to set the pace scoring points. Minnesota, we got to get them figured out. Detroit's struggling like mad. So if Chicago's defense wants to compete, they need their offense to put up points to win that division.
We're talking to Charles Davis right now, CBS color commentator, first year there, calling games. First week he called the Ravens game. This past week he called Bears-Giants. And this will be my last question, Charles, and I can't thank you enough for your time here. You've been awesome.
Sure.
You've been well, I got 2 questions. One's going to be about all those DVDs or books behind you. I don't know what those
Okay.
But my first question is, was that Nick Foles, Mitchell Trubisky, from everything you've heard, was that an actual competition? Or was that like, we want Mitch to have the job and we want him to feel good with Nick Foles coming in as a backup?
No, actual competition. They actually split everything right down the middle. I went beyond just asking the coaches.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, have to.
Right?
Yeah.
So I went beyond that. They actually did split it right down the middle. Whatever number of reps one got, the other got. In whatever situation, same situations. They charted everything. They did their best to do that. Now, the one thing we have to keep in mind is this offseason, because of COVID, no OTAs, no mini camps. So Mitchell Trubisky actually had to jump because he's been in that system with Matt Nagy for 3 years. That helped. Now, give him credit, though. The challenge came at him, and he hung in there, and he played well enough that they decided to give him the first go. I don't think it'd be disingenuous to think that for the Bears franchise, for Ryan Pace, the GM, Matt Nagy, the head coach, that there wasn't a little bit of an advantage for Mitchell Trubisky, that they wanted him to be the guy. Because when you move up from 3 to 2 to draft a guy, you want to give it every chance to make it work. Yeah. And by the way, if you really look at it, Nick Foles has been better doing what in his career than starting, coming off the bench. Ooh. When he comes off the bench, things are typically better, save that one great year in Philadelphia. The rest of the time, he's better as the change-up guy, and I think that's why they went in that direction as part of the reason.
Charles, you're amazing, man. I hope we get a chance to talk to you again. Have a great season. Congrats on the gig with CBS. Number 2 behind Tony Romo is quite an earned opportunity that you have. Completely done so. Ladies and gentlemen, Charles Davis, the voice of Madden. Yeah! Hey, Martin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Hey, Martin, you want a treat, Martin? treat. You want to go outside, Martin?
Treat.
And all books back. Those are all books back there. All books.
Really? They're all the exact same size?
All books. All by different genres, authors, that sort of a deal.
Are you you're an avid reader, I guess? How many books a week, like that type of thing?
Now, at this time frame, it's all media guides and whatever. But in the off season, I tend to devour books. That's for sure.
I'm so jealous. I've never read one. I hope to someday, though.
Well, we'll get together next off season, and we'll work through one.
Audiobook, bingo. Charles Davis. Yeah. Thank you, Charles. Good guy.
Yeah,
great guy.
Got a book club with
Good dog.
That was unbelievable. That was absolutely unbelievable there.
Great energy.
I love that guy's energy. Every time I see him on TV, he does bring up the mood and everything. Like that. Congrats to him getting that CBS gig. Number 2 overall on CBS is no easy feat. That's a big deal.
Absolutely not.
The Madden news, though, I've heard that it is a nightmare of a job.
You're not kidding, too. I will spend 2 full seasons with that man in like a 5-hour span.
Yeah, you can't. With actual games, you're just All right, once a week.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can get
Maybe
through
some similar situations, new quarterbacks. But whenever you're building a franchise or whatever, you're with the same exact team
35 games with Charles Davis
for 6 hours straight. By the way, after talking to him, there's no other human I'd rather. Imagine me in there. People would hate me. Imagine me in there. I just made an electric tackle. I have to mute my Madden now. I would not be. I'm not the right person for Madden.
I'm having to go through 3rd and 10 all the way to 3rd and 1 and having to basically recall it for every single position making the play.
And they have to update through the season, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's new players, so they have to do that again. It's just...
You should be getting a king's ransom.
That's nothing like laying bricks or
No,
military.
Of course not.
Like, we would never want to compare that. But I've heard it is a thankless job almost.
That is tedious.
Yeah, but let's go to Chris in Arizona. What's going on, Chris? Kyler Murray, very good at football. Congrats to you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's going on, guys?
Hey, what's happening out there, huh?
So last week on NFL Live, Dan Orlovsky said that he spoke to a well-respected NFL scout who stated if he could take anyone at the quarterback position at any age, it would be Kyler Murray.
Really?
And I guess my question to you is, where do you see Murray compared to the other young quarterbacks in the league?
Very interesting that scout's well-respected. If he was that well-respected to be a GM. But the thought of passing up on Patrick Mahomes, I think at this particular point in time, would be wild. Plus Lamar Jackson with where he's going. But if you watch Kyler Murray play football right now for these first 2 weeks, I think that decision will be felt by a lot of people maybe 10 weeks down the road from now. Because his upside with how athletic he is, how strong his arm is, and he's just now really, I think him and Cliff Kingsbury both are figuring it out. His upside is massive. So I think well-respected scout that Dan Orlovsky talked to is probably a well-respected scout, because if you're not well-respected, you're not scouting in the NFL for long. So if that person's been around a while and Dan thought it was right to ask him who he would build a team around if he had a team, that Kyler Murray answer is very, very interesting. But I just think right now, if you were to pick him over Patrick Mahomes, I think it would be a bad decision.
You'd be a stooge.
I think it'd be a dumb decision. Just because Patrick Mahomes is literally the face of the franchise right now, and he's in his 3rd year or whatever. So and he just signed a $500 million deal. I mean, this is, or 4th year. Third year playing, 4th year in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So I would think that would be the most interesting thing. Plus Lamar Jackson, he's only gotten better. We just talked to Charles Davis, and he just won an MVP last season. So if Kyler Murray is able to continue to do what he's doing, which, by the way, there is zero signs that it is going to stop, because that high step, stutter step thing that he did on that play that got called back was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen a human do. Only second, not even second to, but I would say 1A there is what Lamar Jackson was doing to professional athletes last year. So I think there's so many great young quarterbacks right now, but Kyler Murray has been a shining star this season. And I think if you get a chance to watch an Arizona Cardinals game this year, do it.
Yeah, they're very fun to watch.
It is awesome. It's by the way, very much like the Chiefs were last year, or watching Lamar Jackson last year. It's like, this is, because he's not Lamar Jackson. He's not Patrick Mahomes. No. Kyler Murray is unlike anything we've ever seen in the NFL, but he's similar to other players. He's just top 5 pick in both the MLB and in football. And I've heard his high school highlight film is just next level, but he's doing all this stuff against professional athletes still, and it is insane to watch.
Toughest division in football.
It could be said, like, for a while, Brady, Breeze, Manning they carried the NFL. The Jackson, Murray, Mahomes could.
The NFL is very pumped that those three are young. Yeah. They are very, very pumped. Sex is cool, but have you ever tried built-in underwear?
So much better.
Everyone has heard about Bird Dog shorts and their incredible comfort, but now they make pants just as comfortable. They actually plucked Lululemon's head designer, and now they're just doing it better. Bird Dogs are pants, but they have the built-in underwear just like their shorts do. So get rid of that tighty-whitey, spandex-weary, underwear up the ass crack feeling, and get a nice piece of comfort with our friends at Bird Dogs. There can be work pants, golf pants, happy hour pants, sleep pants, whatever you need them for. They are all-terrain pants and shorts from our friends at Bird Dogs. And right now, if you go to birddogs.com and enter promo code McAfee, they'll throw in a free pair of nunchucks. Oh my God! Nunchucks. That's right. You go to birddogs.com and enter promo code McAfee for the most comfortable pair of shorts or pants that you've ever worn in your life. You'll get a free pair of nunchucks. A murder weapon will come alongside those things. Birddogs.com, promo code McAfee. Boom. Free pair of nunchucks and the most comfortable shorts or pants you have ever worn in your entire life. I love them. They make my quads look good too. So that's why I like them. I sleep in them. I swim in them. I work out in them. In the second hour, we have Deuce McAllister joining us in less than 10 minutes from the New Orleans Saints. We'll take your phone calls as well. 1-888-MAD-DOG. Hour 1 here is wrapping up on Mad Dog Sports Radio, channel 82 on Sirius XM and on YouTube. Charles Davis, great conversation. We got a chance to talk COVID. We got a chance to talk lung puncturing. I mean, a lot of big sports, big medical show. Hour 2 kicks off on the other side of this break. It is Wednesday, September 23rd. This is the Pat McAfee Show, the most ridiculous, stupid show in the history of shows. Thanks for listening.
This is Remember the Titans. How's it going? My name is Pat McAfee. I do a lot of things. Today I am a professional analyst getting ready for the Thursday night football opener in beautiful Nippert Stadium with the Cincinnati Bearcats here at Higher Ground. This secluded world. Good squad, good place. Excited for this morning practice. I'm obviously unbiased, but I'm pulling hard for Cincinnati to do well on Thursday night.
I like to say, I'll eat clipboard quarterback.
Kicker. Let's see what you got. Come on. This is great for the brand. This guy's an athlete. Athlete. Let's go.
We'll find out. Let's go.
Heads up. Thank you so much for hospitality. Have a great day. Let's go get
Going in, I'ma close the case. I can't wait no more, man. I gotta blow today. I'ma blow today. I ain't hearing what they say. Need a blue face, I've been caring about a race. I've been trying to eat, I need more than just a taste. Now they trying to talk, oh no, they should know their place. Man, I'm ballin'. This ain't cap, baby, now I feel like calling. From the crowd, but I got the music poppin'. All the time, man, it started to get obnoxious. Now I gotta drive, yeah, I'm feeling nauseous. Gotta drive top down, then I hop out. I've been feeling hot now.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm up there.
Yeah, you got it.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. This has been so cool to see. Whenever we were driving out here into the sticks, my boys and I from Indianapolis, we were told by Coach Fickle it was a 40-minute drive from where we live. Absolute lie, hour and a half out here. But as we were getting out here, we didn't know what we were gonna show up to. And this is such a cool scene here. I remember whenever I was in college, we won a lot of games, beat Cincinnati a couple times. It was a great day. But I remember my boys, right? Like I still am in touch with them every single day, every single week. We had this moment where we went from boys to become men. And you guys were a really young team last year, but got to experience a lot of wins. Like now the expectation level are high. And I can't wait to talk you all up on Thursday night against UCLA. UCLA refused to respond to my tweet. So I am a Bearcat fan on that opening night, and I cannot wait to watch you guys dominate. And I I think this is such a cool thing. Coach, I can't thank you enough for your hospitality. I got a bunch of swag from you guys, too. This has been a cool day. Enjoy this, though. This doesn't happen a lot. Even when you get into the NFL, it's not like college. It's not like your boys. It's not like this. It's a whole different world that you'll remember forever, and I was honored to be here to watch you today, and I can't wait to watch you guys go win the thing on Thursday night and then throughout the rest of the season. Thank you so much. Cheers, boys. Thank you.
The Pat McAfee Show.
There will be no rules for our guests, for us, for the things we can talk about.
Speaking his mind.
I've never had a problem expressing my opinions or my thoughts or anything like that.
While being relatable.
I haven't had that manufactured fake-ass celebrity that a lot of people have whenever they go on those big networks. I've had a chance to really build my crew, build my following, build my audience.
And ridiculous.
What am I supposed to do? So I'm supposed to look at something that I can definitely afford and say, nah. Is that what I'm supposed to do?
The Pat McAfee Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Good day, beautiful people. Wednesday, September 23rd, hour 2 is kicking off right after this beat drop from the incredibly talented Twine. First hour, we had Charles Davis on, talked about all things happening in the NFL, COVID. We talked about college football with him. We also talked about Madden, since he is one of the voices of Madden. Not an easy gig from what we've learned and been told. We also talked about Tyrod Taylor puncturing his lung via a Chargers doctor who was trying to give him a shot of Marcaine into his cracked ribs in an attempt to hopefully numb the hell out of that, like when you go to the dentist and they have to pull a tooth or something. Instead, the needle slipped. It is a very low percentage outcome, but from the people that I talked to who have gotten the same procedure, they said that the doctors told them that there was a chance that this could happen, even though the percentage is very, very, very low. So this sucks. This stinks for Tyrod Taylor, who we have said is potentially the most unlucky quarterback in the history of the NFL of all time. Somebody said Sam Bradford. Cool. He got drafted number 1 overall and got paid $170 million. Tyrod Taylor back up in Baltimore. Then he goes to Buffalo, gets him to the playoffs, take a hike, goes to Cleveland, gets hurt. Baker Mayfield comes in, take a hike, goes to the Chargers. They draft Herbert, number 6 overall. Here's a shot for your crack. Take a hike. I mean, it is a bad run here for Tyrod Taylor. Know that we are big Tyrod Taylor fans here. We have a poll going, which we would like you to participate in at Viva La Zito. Zito, what is the poll?
Yeah, the poll today with 7,000 votes already. Since the Big Ten left zero wiggle room for COVID, will they be able to finish the season? We have 32.6% says yep. 67.4 says nope.
Okay, that is a very optimistic 32.6%, and we appreciate the hell out of you for that. But I do believe the no wiggle room, especially with we've seen all these college games already get postponed or suspended, is going to be tough for the Big Ten. But Just like we did in the first hour, let's pivot away from college and COVID. Let's go back to the men's league, the NFL. Joining us now is a man who's a Super Bowl champion, a two-time Pro Bowler, a Saints Hall of Fame member, and currently the Saints color commentator. He owns and operates 2 restaurants. Okay, Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Deuce McAllister.
Matt, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, what type of restaurants we got cooking? I just read this on the little page down here that I get every single. I didn't know that you're an entrepreneur, restaurateur. I did not know that.
Yeah, I've stuck my hand in a few dishes there, and it's Louisiana cuisine. Right now, we're pretty much like any restaurant across America, and really in New Orleans. When you're in that service industry, you're depending on people to be able to come and be able to service you. And so right now, for us, it's a tough industry to be in. And so we're hanging out. We serve Louisiana cuisine. It's a mixture of obviously Louisiana food, but Mississippi, my home state, where I'm from as well. We try to have a couple of dishes in there. You talk about some rabbit pot pie and some other things.
Wow. You go, Deuce.
Maybe I was able to fix up while I was up in Mississippi a little bit.
Okay, well, obviously, we can't wait to get to the other side of this entire thing and get down there and try some of your food. I hope everybody else does as well. Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints, shall we? Which you are a Hall of Fame member over there. Drew Brees got attacked on the internet after Monday Night Football for his arm being weak or whatever. We talked to Aaron Rodgers yesterday, and Aaron was like, what are we even? We're 2 weeks into this thing. Just a couple weeks ago, Tom Brady was dead. Now Drew Brees is dead. It's very much an overreaction world. But as a color commentator, you're with this team week in, week out. What are you seeing from this Saints squad? Is there any need for anybody in the Saints fan base to be like, are the Saints done for? Or is this just a hiccup in the road and they ran into a great Raiders team that nobody really had on the radar?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to take your hat off to the Raiders because they played really, really well. I think for the Saints, maybe even overestimated themselves a little bit just because that first quarter, it was so easy for them. Right now, offensively, they are not playing with a lot of rhythm. And, whether Michael Thomas was there or not, that is not going to change that. He makes it easier on them, but it doesn't change the fact that some of the, whether it's alignment, whether it's route depth, whether it's picking up assignment as far as even in the offensive line and even running game, you have to be able to finish, and they're not clicking on all cylinders. And I think when you look around, the easiest target is obviously Drew Brees and his arm strength, and they don't push the ball down the field, like they normally would have. And I would agree. Hey, look, they're not the team that they were, and he's not the quarterback that he was 10 years ago, and they understand that. But even Coach Payton will agree, and the players will tell you, they still have enough talent to be able to go out and execute an offense. You just have to do it at a higher rate.
Let's talk about the running back position because Alvin Kamara, he got an epidural, I guess, they check on his back. Then they give him an extension. He has been awesome throughout his entire career and these first couple weeks. As a former running back and in a position that normally gets casted aside in recent history. Now, granted, guys are getting paid now, which is good because everybody understands that running backs are an important position. When you see Alvin Kamara play the way he does, and Latavius Murray, I think he took a guy out on Monday night. You have to love that about Sean Payton's offense. It's known for the throw, but running backs are a big part of that entire thing operating well.
Well, and Alvin is playing phenomenal. I mean, right now we know that he was banged up last year, and so it kind of showed. He told us a little bit, not only ankle and knee, but he's been phenomenal these first 2 games. He went north of 150 total offensive yards in that game against the Raiders. He was probably the brightest spot of anything that they did from an offensive standpoint, not only as a receiver, but obviously as a runner as well. And, for him, it's just going to be staying healthy. If he can stay healthy for the complete year, I look for him to put up some insane numbers. Like I said, he already has 4 touchdowns in the first couple of weeks. I expect him to be around that 12 to 15 number as far as overall touchdowns this season. You still were able to work Ty Montgomery in a little bit as a receiver as well. And then when you talk about Murray, his ability to be able to be a catcher as well as a runner only helps and gives them more flexibility offensively.
You had to watch that Raiders offense and love what they were doing. Darren Waller opens it up. You bring in a safety to cover him. Okay, now you're light in the box. Let's go ahead and hammer you with Rashard, Josh Jacobs, and everybody. You had to love to watch that as a former running back.
Well, I love to watch it, but I didn't enjoy it. As a former running back, you loved it. I mean, when you look at that offensive line, you have to be impressed. And even with not having Richie Incognito, and then you didn't have Trent Brown, they had some guys that, really almost on the backup level, they were still able to control the offensive pace, particularly the passing game. And I thought that complemented well what they wanted to do from a run aspect. Saints played a lot of 5-down defensive linemen trying to limit them from running the ball. And look, the Saints have a streak going where they haven't given up 100 yards to one runner in almost 45, 46 games, but they were able to go over 100 yards as a team. And a couple of teams have done that. But for them, you really saw them kind of get tired, and you knew that may be an issue early in the season. They had almost probably 80 offensive plays, that being the Raiders. And, tackling, I thought the Saints didn't do a great job of tackling this game. And that really was not something that you saw in the previous week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So I think as you take on Aaron Rodgers this upcoming Sunday night, that's something to watch. I mean, because if you don't tackle against Jones, the tailback for Green Bay, you're going to be in trouble again.
He ran a 75-yard sprint this past weekend. I think that's why they drafted a guy so high, because they were just going to get tired from watching his ass run. What do you got, Diggs?
Dude, so it was last week when Tiki Barber came out and said that maybe Saquon wasn't an every down back because of his pass blocking. For pass blocking for a guy like that athletic, obviously he's out now, but like, is it just a 1-2 when you're a running back and you're pass blocking?
I think some of it is a want-to, but also technique is always going to help you as well. And you've got to understand, Saquon will continue to get better. And I thought that his comments were the right way to take it. It's easy for me and Tiki to be able to come up here and talk on the radio or television and critique the current players that are playing now. But at the end of the day, it's got to be want-to. It's got to be technique as well. And so I consider him an every down back. And, it's unfortunate that he's going to be out with the ACL injury, but because he is one of the premier running backs in the NFL, they've got to get that offensive line fixed up there in New York.
Deuce, whenever you talk about an every down back and Tiki saying what he said or whatever, I think that's why a lot of players hate players that get into the media, because they forget how hard it is. Like it's not just easy to block a blitzing linebacker up the middle who's just trying to kill you. Like, it is a very difficult. Is pass blocking something that came very easy to you, or is it something that you had to work on?
I had to work on it as well. And Pat, even you can say it's easy for me and you to be able to say, I can critique any punter. If a punter doesn't pin it, pin a kicker, pin it inside the 10-yard line, it's easy for me to say, well, he didn't have the laces right. That was the wrong game time. He dropped the nose of the football. It's easy for us to do it from when we're sitting on the couch or we're up in the booth. We don't have a problem with that. It's a lot different when you got live guys coming at you, and it's going to be putting yourself in the right position as far as technique, and then it's also going to be a little effort. You've got to have some want to as far as doing it, and that's something that he can continue to work on regardless of how many years that he's in the NFL.
Deuce, you mentioned how important Michael Thomas is to the continuity of the Saints offense. We heard that he might miss several weeks with that high ankle sprain. Have you heard anything about his what he potentially will be on Sunday if he's going to play?
Well, here's the interesting thing. The Saints had the option to put him on the injury reserve. And obviously, if you go on the injury reserve, we know that you have to miss at least 3 games. The Saints didn't take that role. And so, he's consulting with some of the top guys as far as doctors are concerned with that high ankle sprain. The Saints haven't really commented on it a lot. Mike didn't travel with the team out to Las Vegas just because you wanted him to continue to get rehab and not flying. That was going to be a critical piece of it as well. As hard as he works, I would not be surprised if he tries to give it a go. But you have to sometimes protect the player against himself just because he wants to go out there and perform. And, this is a long-term play for this team. They want Michael Thomas healthy for, game 11, game 12, game 13. You want him healthy for game 3, but you need him for the long haul and not just a short term. And so whether he plays or not hadn't really been determined yet. But if it's me, I hold him out another week.
Okay, Deuce, something you said in there was interesting. You got to protect the player from himself, because the league has always been like, the players don't want to actually give, and I've always given NFL doctors like a little bit of an excuse, because everybody compares them to their doctor. But when you go to your doctor, there's something wrong and you're telling the doctor exactly what's wrong. A lot of players the last thing they're doing is telling anybody anything's wrong because they don't want to sit out games and lose their job. So I think there's always that type of thing. Did you hear what happened to Tyrod Taylor with the Marcaine shot that punctured his lung? And have you ever got anything like that done before, like either whether it's Marcaine or anything like that, or were you a Toradol guy strictly like myself because it's the best thing ever?
Well, I did see what happened to him, and that's unfortunate, for Tyrod, because if you go back and you see what Justin Herbert did as far as a quarterback, and I know the position of the head coach, what he's taken and what his stance is. I've played with bruised ribs, and so I've had the flap jacket on. I know what that feels like. That is that is not comfortable whatsoever at all. And then to have your own doctor, he makes that mistakes, and he's the one that really takes you out. That's unfortunate, because I don't know if he's going to be able to play this week, but if Herbert goes out there and he plays well again, how can you really turn to Tyrod and say, hey, look, this is your team. It's still on you to lead this team, particularly if they're able to pull off a victory. We know they came up a little short the last game, but that's an unfortunate situation and a bad way to get hurt as well.
Most unlucky quarterback in the history of the NFL. What do you got, Connor?
Deuce, we always talk about the importance for rookies to have veterans in their position groups kind of teach them the way of the NFL. When you were with the Saints, the Saints drafted Reggie Bush. How did you kind of help him become a pro, and were you bitter at all when they drafted him because you were still on the team?
I got over my bitterness, and so I was initially, I'm thinking, why are they drafting this guy? Go get us somebody that can help us, Mario Williams on defense or something. But that was the year that Houston drafted Mario first, and Reggie was the second pick. And so when we drafted Reggie, I was my first year with New Orleans. I was with Ricky Williams. This was when Ricky was dealing with a lot of personal stuff. I'll put it that way. Ricky and me and Ricky are pretty good friends now. Ricky didn't treat me the best of a player, because he was dealing with some personal stuff. So I wanted to make sure for Reggie Bush, I didn't want to treat him like I got treated as a rookie, and I wanted to be able to help him. And as well for myself, I had played 5 years in the NFL and I had never been to the playoffs. I wanted to experience the playoffs. And so I knew I needed some help. I was coming off of ACL surgery. Reggie was phenomenal. The one thing I'll pick at him then and I'll pick at him now, he always wanted to get back to California though. I mean, after any time we had a couple of days off, Reggie was gone back to LA. But I mean, he was a phenomenal. I'm extremely happy for him to see the success that not only he had in the NFL, but after his playing days are over. So, but normally you always have that veteran guy that wants, even though that rookie is coming to take your job, you want that young kid to be successful. So he can help the overall team achieve its goals.
Hey, that's tough though. Some vets get judged heavily for it, and I'm like, think about it from that person's perspective though. Like they probably feel like they got good 5-6 years left, making very good money doing something, and then if they don't just turn over the keys completely to the young person, they're considered a bad veteran. It's like that is a tough mental balance. Congrats to you getting over the bitterness. I don't know if I would have been able to.
Well, look, we say you got 5-6 years, but if he is a first round player, they didn't draft him just to sit on the bench. He is going to play. Now, it's up to you to be a good teammate and to be able to help him as much as possible, but he is going to play, and I understood that. I knew that. I mean, when we were off the field, we were the best of friends, but, even I told Reggie and I told Pierre, it's my job to keep this job. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep this starting position, but I want to help you because I think ultimately you will help us, be able to be successful.
Before we let you go, can't thank you enough for your time, Deuce. You're awesome, by the way. I can't wait to have your Mississippi, Louisiana food. I cannot wait for that. We found out this morning, obviously, a legend passed away in Gale Sayers, Mr. 6 touchdowns in one game himself. Your thoughts on him, his play style, what he did for trailblazing for not only running backs, but the NFL, African-American, everything. I think this is a big shot to the NFL community losing this legend.
It was a big shot, and I think not only you talk about the attributes and the contributions that he made on the field, but I think the things that so many people speak so highly of him is off of the field, and the type of person he was off the field, and how he just wanted to. He was a humble person. He wanted to give back to not only his community but to everyone, really. And we didn't have him long enough, not only in NFL, but in the life after the NFL as well. And so, we definitely send our condolences for him, because the NFL legends, our family, our fraternity, we lost a great one there.
I agree completely. Deuce, you're a great one as well, brother. I hope I get a chance to talk to you again. Enjoy Sunday night. Good luck in the restaurant business. We can't wait to chat again, brother.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, Saints Hall of Famer. That's a big deal, Deuce.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
Deuce, they drafted a guy to kick your ass out of there, and then they put you in the Hall of Fame. Not ladies and gentlemen, Deuce McAllister. Legend Deuce. Thank you, Deuce. We appreciate that. Okay, we have to get to a break. Gail Sayers passing away. Also, Animal passed away this morning.
Yeah.
Sad. Road Warrior. Legion of Doom passed away. A lot of legends passing away this morning. Hopefully, no more, obviously. But rest in peace. Rest easy. Thoughts and prayers to their families and everybody involved. I mean, that's the worst part about this life thing, is the death thing. And anytime you lose legends, it's tough. Tough day in the NFL and the fraternity. Also in WWE. T's and P's to everybody involved. We're back on the other side. 1-888-MAD-DOG-6. We will take some phone calls on this beautiful Wednesday, September 23rd. Also, Schefter just texted me. I think he's going to come on the show at some point today. He can do after 2 or would love now. Okay. How about in 5 minutes, we'll get him for 5. All right, how about in 5 minutes, we get you for 5. Okay, so Adam Schefter joins us on the other side. What more has he learned from the Chargers, Dr. Tyrod Taylor situation, and anything else that could potentially break? Adam Schefter joins us on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Last night I was roaming around Canal and Bourbon, and there was a lot of purple. And when you get that Mercedes-Benz Dome, and it starts getting loud and it gets rompous, obviously, not only for momentum and swings like that it can help, but for the defensive line to get a jump. I think that is a big deal. A lot of freak athletes on the field, and kickers are a spectacle no matter what happens. Whenever you're in those high-pressure moments, you normally fall back on your fundamentals. You normally fall back on your technique. You try to take your brain out of it. Cade York hits a beautiful ball. One person up, one person warming up right now. There's just 3 dudes in suits breaking down every single move he makes during his warm-up. What a wild scene here for Trevor Lawrence.
Quarterback, number 9, Joe Burrow.
You're supposed to be some draft expert, and you say Joe Burrow was a 5th-round draft pick before this year. Now he's number 1 overall. What do you know? What do you know, Todd? You are so handsome, it's ridiculous. What do you think has been happening in this first quarter? Why has Joe Burrow been stumped by this Clemson defense?
I think Brent Venables is the best DC in the country, and it's honestly not a shock to me. He did this to Tua last year.
Odell Beckham just stopped by.
Odell's very excited.
Odell's happy with the 52-yard attempt coming from the kid from Clemson. I've seen Odell make this with a spinning ball. And BT Potter puts it through from 52 in Odell's. In your face. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't in your face. You weren't looking at it.
That's a career high for BT Potter.
Bro, imagine Joe Burrow just having to stand in there and know that Isaiah Simmons is scot-free right in your suckle. That's a bad call. No chance Alberto Riverrod would turn that over. He was in the Buccos organization.
Show.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here Wednesday, September 23rd. Joining us now in between meetings, we can't thank him enough for doing this, a man who broke the news this morning about Tyrod Taylor's lung being punctured by the Chargers doctors. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr., according to my sources, Adam Schefter.
I've never had an introduction quite like that as the man who broke the story about a quarterback's lung being punctured. Let's just hope Tyrod Taylor is okay first and foremost, but that is a wild story.
Wild story, and we only have 4 minutes with you, but I think that is that a Bentley? That's a Bentley leather, I think, right behind you.
Definitely not.
You dog! All right, let's get to it. We don't have time to waste. All right, so when did you hear about the Tyrod Taylor lung puncturing? And are you worried about like this type of news because of what happened with Jason Pierre-Paul, like a potential HIPAA thing, or is this just going to be public knowledge at some point?
No, I mean, I think people know that his lung was punctured. It's not a secret. Spoke to enough people. The NFLPA is launching an investigation about it. This was not going to remain secret. And when I first heard about it, my reaction was the same as I'm sure a lot of people's reaction. Wait, the Chargers team doctor, I did what? I mean, like, I Pat, it's funny because I initially told my wife about it, and she's like, they get painkilling injection. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, she's like, I didn't even know. And they hurt his lung. She's like, that's barbaric. I'm like, that's the sport. I mean, you were in the locker room. You know what it's like. You know what guys put their bodies through to be able to play on Sunday. I don't know what you did for all the hits that you took and dished out, but these guys put their bodies on the line, and that's why they deserve every penny they make. And they do a lot of things to get ready, including taking painkilling injections. Now, this type of painkilling injection, it's not unique. It's not rare. Players do that, but it's rare that a lung is punctured as it was in this particular case. And I think players know that there's always a risk when they get a painkilling injection in the rib area. That's always a risk. And it's why some doctors use x-ray machines to administer the painkilling injection. But in this particular case, it was, as I described, a medical mishap, and his lung was punctured and he had a hard time breathing. And that's why it was on Sunday, like everyone's like, what's Justin Herbert doing out there? Like right away, people are calling me, how come this wasn't mentioned? I'm like, I had no idea. Like, I mean, it's not often that you're just completely surprised and blindsided by something. But when Justin Herbert came out to start, I was like, where did that come from?
Well, especially you, because you'd be given a heads up. It seems like 4 days probably before anybody else, and you kind of just have to sit on it. A lot of trust and faith in your brain knowing everything. But according to my sources, Schefter, they said the exact same thing to you, that the Marcaine shot that you get in the ribs is something that they've got done, and it's just like a surgery where the doctor tells you, like, hey, there's a chance that this could happen, but it is like a 0.1% chance that it could happen. Has this happened before and we just haven't heard about it because it wasn't a starting quarterback? Or is this very abnormal for happening and they just say like this could happen just to kind of cover their own ass in case worse comes to worst?
Yeah, I don't think it's the first time it ever happened. I think the 49ers had a player that it happened to in the 90s. Jerome Bettis had one before a playoff game where he was coming back from a groin injury, and they shot up his leg, but they hit a nerve, and his whole leg went numb. And in a game that he thought he was going to start, he couldn't go out there and play, and he sat in the locker room crying about it. So these things happen, Pat, but it's just so rare. I mean, I'll ask you, do you remember guys getting shots in their ribs to play? I'm sure they did, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's not often that they puncture the lung, obviously. And as you said, 1% chance. I don't know the exact percentage, but it's certainly not high. But people know how sensitive and delicate these treatments can be. I even had a team doctor text me right afterwards. He's like, this is why I never like giving out painkilling injections in the rib area. We don't like to do that. There's a lot of risk involved. And again, it's an unfortunate situation for everybody. Doctor wasn't trying to do it, but he did it. Supposed to be a good doctor. Not in this case. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has accidents, but this high-profile one on a quarterback, and so it's going to generate a lot of conversation, obviously.
Well, and it sucks for Tyrod Taylor, who's the most unlucky quarterback potentially in the history of the NFL. And with the game that Herbert had, who knows if Tyrod Taylor comes out and beats the Super Bowl champs, what that means for the rest of the year and the future of the franchise. I mean, there's just a lot of different variables that go into this accident or this terrible situation for Tyrod Taylor. And before I let you go, and I appreciate you taking a couple moments here with us, you're the man for this, driving around in your Rolls Royce.
By the way, those are pretty cool T-shirts. You're going to send me some of those T-shirts to wear?
Which one?
And I don't know. You tell me. They're the coolest ones. They're an XL. I want to pump up the show and pump up.
Yep.
Your
Okay.
product.
Okay. Shefty, you said it. We'll send you the He's Back one that about Ben Roethlisberger that Diggs is currently wearing on his chest. Yeah. We'll send you the Dropping Dimes and Suck It sign shirt for Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. We'll send you the If I Die, I Die shirt with Kirk Cousins. Along those lines, not dying but close. I was watching you on Monday Night Kickoff, and you had your two phones there, and they were going to you to report news. Sunday was one of the saddest days in the NFL when it comes to injury news, and it seemed like, and I don't want to say seemed like because that would mean you're disingenuous, but it felt like you were at the point where you were exhausted of breaking terrible news. And is that an accurate reading? Because I think he broke that an ACL was confirmed torn on the air, and it was like one after another, torn ACL, another Achilles, another ACL, and it was big star names. And it felt like from listening to you say it, it was like, man, you were like, man, this is just, it's getting worse and worse and worse as the day went on.
Well, that's pretty observant. And, I will say that I don't remember the last Sunday that I went through that was like that, where, I mean, I'm watching the game at home. And, I mean, if you're watching, first of all, I haven't watched games at home, so the whole year is just weird, right? So, I got my in-laws around, and I told the story on my podcast this week that I go into that room at 1:00, and I came out at one point to get some water. So my mother-in-law said to me, and my in-laws are not football people. She goes, "There are still games on?" I'm like, "Yeah," and she goes, "When do they end?" And I'm like, at about midnight tonight after the Sunday night football. She's like, wait, there are games all day? And I said, what do you think I've been doing the last 30 years? Like, they don't even know that they're like, when I went away every Sunday for the last, like, where did you think I was? What did you think I was doing? Like, and so on this particular Sunday, it was, I don't remember the last time I had a Sunday like that. Like, there have been star players who've gotten hurt, and I hate to see that. I do hate to see that. And there are injuries that you have to check on, but I never like to do that on a Sunday. It's just, to me, it's like it's game day. Like, everything leads up to this. Let's watch the games, and we'll let the coaches speak in the press conferences afterwards and address and I don't like to do that stuff in game before. It's not what I enjoy. It's not what I like. There were so many of them. It was just, honestly, it was overwhelming to just try to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
Like, and you feel so bad for these guys, the teams, the coaches. Like, man, it's brutal. It's just brutal. And then you hear about the Tyrod Taylor injury, and that's just the capper to the whole week, which was a wild week. And we'll be back at it again Sunday, and I hope I am for the remainder of the day. And I'm like, yes, that's I called my mother on that. Yes, Nanny, there are games from 1 to about 11:30. So have a great day, and I'll see you. I'll see you this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, ESPN Insider, the Insider, a man who has to break a lot of terrible news. And on Monday, I saw it wearing on the guy. I saw it wearing on him. Ladies and gentlemen, legend in a Rolls Royce, Adam Schefter.
Legend in a soon-to-be new Pat McAfee T-shirt.
Yeah. Schefter, you're the best, buddy. Have a good one.
Take care, Pat. Thanks for having me.
I was watching him on Monday night, and he was getting texts that more, like I think more ACLs and more things were being, and they like went to him. They're like, "All right, Schefter, you have information." He was like,
I do,
but this is gonna suck to bring this A, and everybody's just kind of staring at him, and then everybody's reaction is like, "Oh, Schefter, shut up, Adam!" Like, you don't go to a doctor when you're feeling good, Like that's kind of what Schefter's current moment is. Everything bad is coming from it. That's tough stuff. That Tyrod Taylor news is wild.
Shefty's an XL?
Yeah, that was an interesting flex there. And I could have, by the way, I thought about doing what you just did right there, but we only had a certain amount of time. Yeah. He actually is missing. He's 4 minutes late to a call.
Oh, jeez.
I was told by a couple people, like, hey, Shefty has a call here in a couple minutes. but Schefter was like, hey.
He wanted to chat.
I have a call, too.
Yeah.
Schefter's like, I have a call, too, by the way. Keep it moving. Thanks to Schefter doing that. By the way, this show is so stupid. Just got a text from Shefty. Hey, you want to chat? Yeah, absolutely. All right, I got like 5 minutes. Okay, bingo. Come
Call
on.
me.
Hey, Shefty, by the way, anytime you want to do that, or anybody else is listening that has any notable anything, just go ahead and text me and say, hey, I got some shit to say. We'd appreciate it. Let's get. Hey, how's the poll doing? Big Ten, are they going to finish the season whenever they were allowed zero wiggle room for any COVID outbreaks throughout the entire conference?
With 9,000 votes, it is a big no, 68%.
Yeah, it is. I like that there's 32% now saying yes, and I think that's up a little bit or maybe down a little bit, but that is, it just feels like at some point somebody's going to do something. And then if one team does it, that's a domino effect for the other team.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have to shift it. It'd almost be worse if one team gets it, by the way, because then you can't just replace them with another team. There's been a lot of shifting. So it's like leaving them only going first in the decision-making process of what we're doing, bad idea.
Foolish.
Coming back on it, good idea. Admitting that, hey, we're in a different time now. We have different information. We're going to do this. Then another bad decision was made. We're only going to give ourselves the exact amount of time that we need, even though everything on Earth has been postponed or suspended at this point because of COVID-19.
And here's the weird part, or the troubling part is I originally saw 4 Notre Dame players test positive, and then it was 7. If those are 4 or 7, and they're like 90th through 110 on the roster, and they're canceling, that's an issue. That's huge.
Well, the rules, I guess, are rather strict in college football. By the way, it has to be because we don't know what this is going to do to people 15 years down the road.
Long term.
We don't know 20 years down the road. You know why? Because we're not 15 years down the road or 20 years down the road. By the way, reports coming out that the Andy Reid shield, I guess it doesn't work.
It does not.
You don't say.
It covers his mouth, though.
Well, we thought that there was a chance that COVID, unlike hot air, which rises, we thought COVID just fell because it was so heavy. And it's been dropping bows on everybody. We thought it just came down. But I guess a new scientist, probably a different scientist, that said that this one mask was better than this other mask. And this mask doesn't do this much and that much. And by the way, the sleeves that they're wearing on the face maybe makes it worse because it's just COVID just hanging out in there like it's a bear hibernating. And then whenever you take that off and throw it at somebody, you just threw it right at the grizzly man who went into the bear cave. You know what I mean? That's what they say.
At what point do you just wear an astronaut helmet?
They're developing them.
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
The guy that tests us whenever we were down at WWE, he had a full Laramie Tunsil gas mask. I've never been more freaked out in my life. And then he shoved something to my brain. I was like, thank you, pal. You do whatever you want, man. Just I hope we don't get it. You know what I mean? Let's go to Shauna in Chicago.
Shatan. Oh, no.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Not too shabby. Is it Shanna or Shauna?
It's Shauna.
Shauna, what's going on?
Shauna in the house, yeah?
Mitt spelled it Shanna
What's
for
that?
sure. Yeah.
Idiot.
No, whoa. You got a 31 on the ACT.
31 on the ACT.
That kid's up.
What do you
So
want?
I have a question regarding when players get traded. Do they sign any sort of legal contract that says that they can't share their old team's plays and other top secret information?
Great question, Shauna. No.
Remember the Hard Knocks?
No, they don't. It is a savage game out there. And some players, I think, not feel. Because it's interesting. Because are you that morally awesome if you don't share the information for the new team that you're on, or are you fucking over your current team currently with information that you could help them? Or are you, it's a very interesting. I'm very thankful that I never had to deal with it. But boy, I've seen players come into a building that were just on a team that were potentially playing in 2 weeks. And it's just like, is that guy going to play for us? It's like, well, that's not why he's here, Pat. Well, why is he here? Well, he's going to run routes exactly like somebody, or potentially line up in the exact spot that they know people. Oh,
interesting.
Oh, this happens everywhere. Huh? Yeah, it does. That's why you see a lot of people get signed, and it's for a week or whatever, and then they leave, and it's or maybe it's not even for the next week or 2 weeks. Maybe it's 10 weeks down the road. You have no idea. There's always intel gathering happening by every single team. That's a very, Sean, a great question, by the way, and we have not talked about that on the show in its 3 years existence, but that's a very real thing that happens.
Zito mentioned it too. The linebacker for the Browns who came and who was on Hard Knocks and just eviscerated Zach Ertz for not being able to block, and he's just a wide receiver playing tight end.
Yeah, there is a lot pointing out weaknesses. All those things. It's like, hey, potentially. Now I've gone against him in practice. I don't know, 2,000-3,000 times. This guy cannot turn left like a Grizzly.
Punch him in the face. He'll stop.
Yes, everything you do. That information is big. By the way, NFL, the most competitive batch of humans I think you could potentially drop yourself into in America. I mean, I assume there's other people out there. That's why you saw a lot of players and coaches. Now, coaches obviously came out and acted as if they were upset, but that's why you heard a lot of players. You heard a lot of the staff and coach behind closed doors. When the Patriots were getting investigated for all that shit, everybody was like, okay, all right.
Cool.
They got caught. Let's keep it moving. What's the big deal here? Because if they knew everything that everybody was trying to do at all times, just gain a little bit of an edge, because just a little bit of an edge, especially in an NFL with as much parity as it has, that's billions and billions of dollars that you could potentially have, which is, by the way, the only thing that matters to a lot of people, which is sad. Sad.
It is.
Sad.
That's why we cheated with the Bengals last year.
Exactly.
And haven't won. Or hadn't won.
Is Belichick the only one that will take someone out if they tell him a secret?
What do you mean?
Like a hitman?
You mean like bury his body in a mosh?
Ernie Adams.
I don't know if he's like
send Ernie on him.
Who's that? Who's the Irish guy up there in Boston?
Whitey Bulger.
Oh, White.
Yeah, I don't know if Belichick's Whitey Bulger.
He probably knows Whitey Bulger.
Sending people for sure, but I don't know if he's just sending people into other facilities and just.
Well, I don't know. That picture of Belichick this morning looked like he was up all night burying a body in a mosh.
That was awesome.
In the mosh.
Bill Belichick showing up to a press conference looking the way he did is maybe my favorite thing to have happened thus far in 2020. Just because he knows exactly how it's going to be taken. He knows it's going to become GIF, meme, everything. And he knows he's the greatest coach of all time, so it does not matter. It is alleged that that shirt that he wore to his press conference, a sweatshirt, cut-off sweatshirt that has holes all over it, his hair's disheveled. They say that this hasn't been worn since they lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl or whatever. So maybe he's doing this as a message to his team, like, hey, let's remember when this happened or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think it's honestly Bill Belichick just grabbing something out of the pile. I have to go do what? Oh, I hate these. All right, here we go. And not a single person said, hey, maybe a shirt that doesn't have holes all over it. Nobody said that because you know why? They're focused on football up there. They don't give a damn about what they look like. They're just here to play football. That's the Patriot way.
He's also coming out of the weight room. What you guys don't realize is he just did 5 sets of 50 on the bench, and he also did 10 sets of squats, and so he's obviously wearing his old stuff to sweat in.
Bill Belichick clanging, banging, press conference slanging. I love everything that he's doing. Let's go to Aaron over there in Green Bay. Is this Aaron Rodgers? What's going on, bub?
Not Aaron Rodgers, and also a girl, so that's helpful.
Okay, so Mitt spelled this one A-A-R-O-N.
Oh, nice.
Which probably an E if I had to guess. I mean, I don't know Aaron personally.
It is an A, actually.
Aaron with
one
an
A,
I.
though.
1A, 2 A's?
1A.
A-R-I-N?
A-R-Y-N-N.
Oh, I like that.
Sometimes Y.
Never heard of that. I like the way your parents kind of think way outside the box for things. I enjoy that a lot.
Yeah.
But if it was A-R-Y-N-N on here, would have probably known that it was a lady. And for Shauna, Mitt went with S-H-A-N-N-A, obviously.
Just misspelling the ladies' names today.
Well,
He's just an idiot.
people are wondering, is Mitt sexist all of a sudden?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't say it. People are saying it.
A lot of people have been saying that.
Aaron, what do you want to talk about, boss?
Never heard him say nice.
So I obviously listened to the show yesterday, and it was great to hear Aaron Rodgers talk about how good his mental health is doing. And I did some creeping in his Twitter, and I noticed back on April 2nd, he retweeted something from the Packers saying they have a new director of performance psychology and team behavioral health. And I don't really know the relationship of those type of professionals to the rest of the team, but wondering, what role do they play, and could that have possibly contributed to Aaron's increased health mentally?
Aaron, I want to let you know we appreciate the investigative journalism that you went into before this call. We appreciate that. I would assume having a mental health expert or a doctor or somebody to talk to that you think you can confide in is great for any building, any team that you're trying to build. The NFL back in the day did not have anybody. Then as information started to slowly roll out alongside society with mental health, there was a lot of teams that brought in sports psychiatrists, sports psychologists to kind of be an option for people if they're dealing with anything. Because you got to remember that a lot of people, whenever they get into the NFL, they have never had to deal with any of the problems that are about to pop up. Mo money, mo problems was something that a great poet, Biggie, said, but it's a real thing. There's a lot to deal with, especially when you have family members or any any other business ventures that could potentially get tossed at you, or hey, save this uncle for doing this, or anything like that could happen, or how do I not buy that when I can afford it? There's a lot of outside factors that kind of get brought into an NFL player's life that you don't account for whenever you just study the film of what they got going on. And that's why I think college football is a whole different animal as well. You don't have no idea what players are dealing with off the field, whether it's academics, maybe it's something socially they're going through, the internet burying them. There's so many things that can kind of get on people. And I think that's why mental health has kind of come to the forefront, because everybody's starting to kind of understand that the in between the ears is just as important as everything else whenever it comes to being the best you that you could possibly be. So I'm not 100% sure if Aaron Rodgers did visit with Dr. Chris Carr, the director of performance psychology and team behavioral health clinician. I'm not 100% sure if he did that, which we just pulled up the tweet. But I do know that he supports it mightily. Mm-hmm. He believes in it massively. And that might be the pivotal point where he turned a lot of things around and started viewing things differently. The internet obviously ran with what he said about the last couple months being the happiest he's ever been, it revolving around love and integrity and all these things. And they ran with it for their own reasons, for his personal reasons. But maybe he just got to the point where he was like, you know what? I want to work on me a little bit here. I want to make me the best me possible. And maybe it was with Dr. Chris Carr, maybe it was with somebody else. But whatever the case, whenever you are most healthy in between the ears is when you're going to be the best you could possibly be. And whenever we heard Aaron talk about that yesterday, I was so pumped, and I think Ty was so pumped. Oh, yeah. Because there's a reason why they say happy people are the best workers in the working environment. Because when you're enjoying what you're doing and you're in a good headspace, you dedicate yourself a little bit more, you go the extra mile. When you're just not happy and you're not investing in things, it's a completely different world. So, Aaron, great investigative journalism.
Yeah, wow.
Girls are very good at that.
Diving very. Let's go to Antino in Mexico or in Wisconsin. What's going on, Antino?
Hey, how you doing down there, bub?
Is it Antino or Antonio?
Yeah. Antonio.
Yeah. Oh, Mitch.
Figured.
Kick him off.
You have no chance.
Kick him off.
You have no chance.
I mean, what am I supposed to do here?
I don't know.
Antino.
Dude, he spelled noticeable yesterday with a K.
I mean, dude said he got a 31 on the ACT. The guy answering phones, 1-888-HOT-DOG-6.
I listened to that episode this morning. He's lying. There's no way. He can't spell for shit.
Yeah, I agree.
He's got mush for brains.
Hey, Antonio, what do you want to talk about, bub?
Hey, so I had a quick question. I wanted the boys' opinion on this as well. Because I'm watching it over there on the YouTubes, and I'm looking at your desk, and you got so much cool stuff between the nunchucks and the Sharon and all the other stuff.
Playoffs.
And you got the aggro crag back behind you. So I was just wondering, what was your favorite TV show growing up as a kid?
Great question, Antonio. Hey, Mitt, how does everything that just happened in the last 3 phone calls happen before we even get to favorite television show as a kid?
I cannot spell a single word in the dictionary.
Yeah, but can't you ask them how to spell the name so that you don't just put me out on an island absolutely battling in the trenches here? Antino.
And how long was that guy on the list? Like, can't you glance over at the list and be like, oh, that guy's name isn't actually Antino. It's not a name.
Can you not get on the phone at some point and be like, how do you spell your name? Like Shanna. That's obviously Shanna.
You can ask.
Aaron is a girl, and you spell that Aaron Rodgers there. It's just...
She was from Green Bay, though. Like, that was just in my head.
Oh, yeah.
She's from Green Bay.
Okay. Just setting you up for failure.
By the way, best call of the week. We'll win some free merch if you talk to that stooge. Just please spell your name whenever you call in.
Please, I need it.
Because that would help. You could ask them to do that, Mitt.
Yeah.
You could ask them to do that, Mitt. Unbelievable.
If you're from Minnesota, spell the state's name too, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. And I completely forget the question now at this
Favorite
point.
TV show.
Yeah. I didn't watch a lot of TV, obviously. Everybody knows that. I've never seen a Disney movie until here recently. My lady thinks that's potentially why I don't have the sad emotions and stuff like that.
What Disney movie?
Well, good question.
Under the Sea.
No.
Oh, you were watching recently?
It was in the last couple of years.
Didn't you watch Lion King?
It's got to be...
yeah, I watched the new Lion King.
Yeah.
There it is.
Oh,
I watched the new Lion King.
The new
Aladdin.
one.
And also the new Aladdin. Yeah, so those are the two. Because Sam...
Ferdinand.
During the court... Ferdinand's a Disney movie?
I don't know. But
No, I don't think it is.
Not Disney, but
Ferdinand is a banger.
Along the lines of Disney.
But that's a real thing. Like, my house... Jason can even attest to this. I'm not 100% sure, but we did not watch Disney. Like, I never saw a Disney movie growing up, which I guess is kind of just like the standard for children. Like, I guess because there's a lot of emotions that you feel in there.
Oh, yeah.
I never had those. So, like, when Bambi's mom died or whatever, like, I never had the moment like, oh my God, I'm so sad. In my eyes, Bambi was a deer that was just out there bouncing around. I had a movie made. Superstar. Congrats, Bambi. Let's keep it moving. That's how I viewed it.
If I'm not mistaken, you are a big Tom and Jerry fan, which makes sense. A lot of hijinks, a lot of laughter, a lot of fun.
No talking.
No,
I watched
exactly.
the hell out of Tom and Jerry, but that's also something, I think it's just 3-minute episodes too. So it's just quick
Short
in
film.
and out. Here we go. I did a lot of kicking a soccer ball against the side of the house for just hours and hours and hours at a time. And that is literally what I did for fun, which is why the leg became what it was. And also why the leg wasn't able to last as long, because I spent my entire childhood doing that. No real video games. I liked Tom and Jerry. I liked the Agrocrat Global Guts. I enjoyed Let's send Met with the result. I enjoyed that. I liked American Gladiators a lot whenever I was growing up. So I think anything that was directly in my sport world is all I did. And by the way, I was locked in that bubble my entire life. So, and that's why we are a sports show. You can't talk about anything else because, to be honest, I don't know anything about anything else, and it's kind of sad. It's kind of a sad situation. But we're making it. Let's go to PJ in Missouri. Hey,
there we go, man.
Hey.
Good spelling, dude.
Watch this guy beat TJ. PJ, what's up, dude?
How we doing, boys?
Not too shabby. What's your name?
Yes, my name is PJ. Mitt did get it correct. So I will-
That's because you spelled it.
2 whole letters.
By the way, PJ here wants to get a big pop. Says his name's TJ.
Hey, yes, I just got a big question. I know Clyde Edwards-Helaire, best guy for Chiefs right now, running back. He did good in week 1. Got stopped a little bit in week 2. Do you think he can run through the Ravens defense this week on Monday Night Football?
Going to be tough, I think, with the Ravens defense. And this is going to be a clash of the Titans for real. And this is a game that I would assume Monday Night Football is pumped to have. Their numbers were up, by the way. ESPN, ABC, I think they had over 15 million people watch this past Monday with the unveiling of the new Las Vegas stadium out there. Big win by the Raiders. So good for Monday Night Football. And there's been some, years where you can almost tell if I got to really be careful. You can, oh boy.
Yeah.
You can really tell whose contracts are up television-wise with the NFL and who is maybe potentially paying earliest because their games are great games. For instance, Thursday Night Football a couple years ago when Amazon dumped however many millions in there, those Thursday night games were must-watch television. Now, the games aren't as high profile as they once were a couple years ago. Monday Night Football for the last couple of years, a lot of people have gone after just the commentating for being the reason. They haven't been the greatest games on Monday Night Football. Now, granted, the Rams and Chiefs had a great one a couple years ago or last year, but aside from that, if you don't have marquee matchups, it's going to be tough. Chiefs, Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Marquee matchup here. So there's going to be a lot of eyes. I'm excited to watch the game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that first game was the focal point of the offense. Everything else ran off of that. And I don't know if that's just what Andy Reid does with young running backs because he's done this in the past with other running backs, but this game is going to be a slobber knocker. And I'm not 100% sure if it'll revolve around Clyde Edwards-Helaire or not. If it does, I think he'll do just fine. The guy's a talented running back, but I assume this is going to be a points game where Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are just going to try to score as many points as possible because on the other side, there's a guy who won the MVP last year and is as hot as anybody in the league in Lamar Jackson. So who knows what the game plan is? I think that is a lot of the success that Clyde Edwards-Helaire had in the first game as opposed to the second game, but I could be 100% wrong in that.
I was just looking at the Monday Night Football schedule. They actually, I think they did a lot better this year. Like because they got the Dallas Cowboys a bunch of times, they got the Patriots a bunch of times. I think they made a concerted effort to get better as far as scheduling.
By the way, that's not ESPN's decision.
That's the NFL trying to save.
Yeah, like I don't know if that's ESPN saying, "No, listen, this is what we want. We want Patrick Mahomes week 1, week 2 also." We're thinking Patrick Mahomes, and then week 3, listen to this now.
Watch this.
Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson.
Oh, both of them.
And then, they don't get the decision making in that. I think it's a.
So do you think NBC pays extra? Because later in the year, NBC has the power to flex games to that late night.
I would assume that is quite a pretty penny to be able to flex games.
Collinsworth and Michaels too, right?
You remember, hey, there's business happening around everything.
That's right.
There's business happening around everything, baby. The NFL.
Everything.
I mean, it's everything. It is a fun game, but that is a massive. I'm pumped for that game.
Big old business.
Let me tell you about a high-quality shades that are far less than the expensive brands.
Oh, yeah?
Wait.
I like those.
And also the same company that has one of the best warranties in the history of sunglasses. Replacements if lost or broken in a lifetime craftsmanship guarantee. Plus, every purchase, they donate 10 meals to fight hunger in America with every single order.
Wow.
What? Yeah, not only do they have sunglasses, they also have blue tint glasses to protect your eyes when you're staring at technology all damn day. They're a company that not only is making your life better, not only making your face look better with cool glasses, but also making the world better. Shout out to Shady Rays is who I'm talking about. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company, so they are not some big corporation that overcharges for shades. Everyone knows sunglasses are way overpriced. They all come from the same factories, by the way. Shady Rays is out to do it differently with premium polarized shades at a fraction of the big name brand cost. Woo. Shady Rays also has one of the best warranties in the history of anything. Replacement of shades if they're lost or broken for any reason. It doesn't matter what happens. If you drop in an ocean, lake, you break them sitting down, they'll replace them. Try that with your high-priced shades and see if they'll help you. Try. No way. Even with that strong of a warranty, they still manage to make quality that I can tell you holding in my hand and on my face is just as good as any expensive pair that we have ever worn. Polarized lenses that look perfectly clear and the most Shady Rays are only $48. Every single order, they provide 10 meals to fight hunger in America, and they are brilliant. They have incredible designs that make your face look better, even if you got a big snoz like I do. They're cool glasses, and they're making the world a better place, and they're cheaper. Not only are they cheaper, but you can add an extra 25% off any pair of shades at shadyrays.com and use code McAfee. You can get a quality polarized pair of sunglasses for as low as $36 with this deal.
Oh,
it's unbelievable. Redeem only at shadyrays.com, where you can find all their newest and best shades. Use code McAfee for an extra 25% off an already incredibly priced pair of sunglasses. We got about 40 seconds left here in hour two. Adam Schefter stopped by. Shout out to him. Got a chance to chat with him about the entire story of the Los Angeles Chargers, Doctor and Tyrod Taylor. Got a chance to obviously chat to Deuce McAllister. Deuce. Hey, he was a cool convo. I hope we get a chance to chat to him again. First hour, we had Charles Davis. Now in the third hour here, in less than 10 minutes, we'll talk to Matthew Berry of ESPN, who I think started fantasy football. I know nothing about fantasy football, but he'll know a lot of things about what backups we should be looking at for a lot of teams. We'll be able to use his fantasy knowledge to take into the real world. Can't wait for that. Plus AJ Hawk. It is Wednesday, September 23rd. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Hour 3 on the other side. Go take a piss. Let me tell you a little story about these statistics. Troy Polamalu, okay? Fucking Troy Polamalu. So we had a fake for the Pittsburgh Steelers that was a 100%er. We didn't even have a cancel the goddamn play because it was a 100%er. If we ever end up in this situation, inside the 7-yard line on the left hash, it is a 100%er that the C gap will be wide open and we will just part the C to the left. It'll be a touchdown. 100%er. We're playing in Pittsburgh, the city I grew up in. I grew up in Pittsburgh. I won the punt, pass, and kick national championship, AJ. National championship, AJ.
Congrats.
AJ, did you ever win the national championship, punt, pass, and kick?
I think I got 3rd or 4th out of 4 at the Nationals.
I'm proud of you, man. Anyways, so we're there in that stadium, okay? A lot of McAfee's in there. A lot of McAfee's in Pittsburgh. I'm going to score my first fucking touchdown, night game, Sunday Night Football, I believe it was, right here, touchdown. We get into that situation, and I'm like, holy fuck, this is really going to happen. We're like on the 6 on the left hash. It's 4th and goal now. Field goal team's jogging on. I'm like, well, fuck, it's about to, I'm ready. I am ready for this to happen. So I get out there. I get down. Vinny's like happy for me. Vinny's like very excited. He's like, let's fucking go. Like Vinny's excited for me at this moment. I'm like, here we go. So I make the call. I forget what it was. So I start saying it, right? And everybody's looking at me like, okay, bright eyes. Here we go. Let's get after it. Offensive linemen are dead ass tired. They do not want to be in the middle of a field goal anyways. So they're just like, all right, I don't give a fuck if you die here, but this should work. Let's get some points. And all of a sudden, I go through my cadence, I call it, I get down, and Troy Polamalu's fucking ass goes ahead for however long his career was at this point. I think it was like 9 years or 8 years at this point. Not a once has he ever gone to this side of the field over here to the left and stood right in the C gap. Never. He lined up exactly where he had lined in film 100% of the time. And then as soon as I got to like the second cadence right before set, he just bounced his little ass right over to the C gap. And I like stopped everything I was doing and I literally just looked at him. And I gave him like what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, why are you there right now? And then I stood up and said, we are kicking it. We have to kick it. We are kicking this. And then I get down, and Vinatieri kicks it, and I jog off the field. And Chuck Pagano comes running up next to me. He's like, hey, good job. What you see? I said, what did I see? Palamalu just fucking went right into the goddamn C gap. What did I see? What did I see? And he goes, okay, sounds good. Good call then. Good call then. And then Vinatieri's like, hey, way to go, buddy. I'm like, way to go? Are we not going to talk about how big of a fucking asshole Troy Polamalu is for what just happened right there? So that's...
I saw the angel of death waiting for me in the C gap.
It's unbelievable. What, you thought I was going to run him over? No way. He's probably going to strip me and score a touchdown the other fucking... That's Palamalu, bro. That ain't just your backyard football with your son. These are professional fucking athletes. He'd probably jump over the lineman, pick me up, and run me into the other fucking end zone if he wanted to. That's what he would have done.
The hard-hitting safety of his generation, too. Ed Reed, great cover safety. I don't know that you would have feared him, but...
Ed Reed, I would have feared Ed Reed. Yeah, if I saw Ed Reed in that C gap, absolutely. E.D. Reed, boy, the best safety you ever seen, boy. I ain't doing shit to Ed Reed.
No, Ed Reed would have made the tackle. I'm saying that Polamalu would have shaved years off your life.
Oh, my God.
McAfee Show on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82.
That's right, it is. Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Now we have McAfee and Hawk joining us. Super Bowl champion, national champion, Green Bay Packer, Ohio State legend. It says it on his license plate, ladies and gentlemen. The Crimson Chin, AJ Hawk. Yeah! How are you, AJ?
What's happening, fellas? I caught a little bit of the show before I jumped on. Man, I just cannot imagine what some callers are going to do to poor Mitt here in the future. Calling, messing around, like giving him spelling his name wrong just to make him look bad on there. Like, Mitt, I feel for you.
You should feel for him because he's illiterate at this point. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Antonio, he spelled Antino. I mean, it was just...
Imagine if a Nicholas calls.
I couldn't even fathom... I mean, it is... And listen, I'm this guy's first ever boss, I think. He got fired, I guess, from a couple other gigs or whatever happened. Or whatever. Up, yep. But, like, so I'm his first ever real boss, and his dad has told me, like, hey, let's try to make him a functioning member of society, and I'm trying my best. But if you spell Antonio Antino, I might lose hope. You know what I mean? Like, that might be something... Especially because Shauna... Aaron Antino was just a three-piece that he took today. It was just tough. I mean, but you're right. Now I assume people are going to fuck with him. That is probably what's going to happen, AJ.
I mean, just the fact that he typed up antenna and put it on the screen for you. Like, how many antennas do you know?
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. I mean, that's the problem. I don't think he even knows what he doesn't know or knows what he knows. And he's young, by the way. You have to remember that Mitt is a very young man.
And a genius.
He's handsome. He scored a 31 on the ACT. But somehow he just cannot spell a single thing in this world. And we'll live with that as we go. I'm happy he's here. He's doing a great job aside from the fuck-ups that he does on a regular basis. But he is really gelling well into the office, which is what I care about a lot more than any of his spelling mistakes. So that's good. AJ, yesterday, Aaron Rodgers conversation, that thing's getting clipped everywhere, all over the globe. A lot of blogs coming out about him talking about how he's happy now. And everybody immediately went to a relationship he just ended, as opposed to thinking that Aaron maybe just decided to look at himself and say, hey, I would like to be the best me possible. So there was a lot of interesting things going on the internet the past day and a half here with Aaron Rodgers' appearance yesterday.
I don't know if I hadn't been paying much attention or what, but I haven't really seen it, whatever he said on our show. I didn't really see it out there, and I anticipated you being very upset that it didn't get a lot of traction, because the second Aaron you were trying to get him off the show, and then he goes in this 3-minute deal about how his life is now. And then the first thing you said, I think that's what's great. Your transparency. You said, oh, that's amazing. This is going to be clipped everywhere. They're going to put it all over. Well, little known secret, everyone that does a sports show, and it's always weird to me when I hear, like, the goal is always to get something picked up, like on the national, in writing somewhere like NFL.com, ESPN, like that's all they care about is if they have a guest, hey, let's get them to say something inflammatory so it gets picked up all over the globe. Like that's all people are looking for. And you're not trying to do that exactly, but at least when you're transparent, you're honest with it. Okay, this is great for all of us. It's good for you, good for us. I think that's why people flock to you, Pat.
Hey, Aaron, by the way, I just want to let you know what you just said. I don't know if it was a big uh-oh or not, but that's going to get clipped. That's basically what I wanted to say, and it has, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's been everywhere. Because everybody is going immediately to his personal life. It's like, well, do you ever think that maybe he just was like, hey, I'd like to be the best me possible? And there's not even a thought of that, by the way. So that's life when you're Aaron Rodgers. That's why we're thankful to talk to him. And I think a lot of people are starting to like Aaron Rodgers in a lot bigger way because they're starting to learn about him. Speaking of learning about something, AJ and I know nothing about this following topic, but we got the guy who created it, basically. Fantasy football expert, fantasy football guru from ESPN. Ladies and gentlemen, legend Matthew Berry.
What's up? I want to say very clearly. I want to level set real quickly, Pat. Nothing I say is going to get picked up. Let's just go ahead and level set that right now.
Well, listen, if we get one a month, I think that's good enough for us. That's not what we're looking for. We're just trying to be an entertaining, informative, insightful show. And we can't thank you enough for joining us today, Matthew.
It's my pleasure. I'm a fan. You guys are awesome. So thrilled to be here.
Oh, thank you for that. Now, I introduced you there as the man that created fantasy football. Is that an accurate statement, or is that just completely fabricated?
It is fabricated. So
no. Get him off.
No, you created it.
I think you could fairly credit me with. I did not invent fantasy football. Fantasy football was actually invented in 1963, believe it or not, by a guy that worked for the Oakland Raiders.
Oh, wow.
Back when they were in the AFL. Like, if you want to get really nerdy about when it happened, it was invented in 1963. Wow. The Oakland Raiders were 0-7 in the AFL, and one of their guys was like, man, our team is so crappy. I wish I could create my own team that I could root for with actually good players. And we did an episode. So Peyton Manning and I did a episode of Peyton's Places, and we went to the actual hotel in New York City where the guy from the Oakland Raiders and a couple of his buddies invented fantasy football in 1963. Wow. I think what I can take credit for, I think it's fair to say, is I'm most well known for basically popularizing fantasy football and helping bring it into the mainstream, because it was for a long time thought about to be fairly nerdy. And not that I'm, Joe Cool or anything like that, but I helped popularize it and make it much more mainstream, along obviously with the help of ESPN and media partners like the NFL and many other great people. But that's what I'm most well known for, I think, is popularizing fantasy football and bringing it into the mainstream.
Oh, way to go! Yeah! Way to go! They would be so pumped back in that hotel room that probably hasn't been upgraded since 1963 in New York. That's awesome. AJ, what do you got?
Oh, Matthew. So I don't know a whole lot about fantasy football. I've observed some drafts. I've messed around at times. What's one of the biggest mistakes a novice makes when they jump into a league and they get, like, say you jump into a league with a bunch of savvy vets that have been doing it for 10 years. What do these young guys do that always causes problems?
Well, fantasy football success often comes from players from finding value, right? I mean, so we all know the good players, and I think what happens is not sort of understanding the rules or understanding sort of the value proposition. Let me put it a different way. So somebody that hasn't played before might go, oh, well, I want a quarterback, right? Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, some of these big name guys. Quarterback's the most important position in the NFL. It's not the most important position in fantasy because in a general league, like in an ESPN standard league, you only play 10 people. Other leagues, 12 people, usually only start one quarterback. Well, there's 20 to 25 legitimately good fantasy football quarterbacks because it's a passing league. And so there are positions where it's much more scarce, like running back. There's just not a lot of running backs that get a lot of runs. So that's a mistake that often people make is they'll go for the bigger name guy without understanding sort of the rules of the game. Another mistake they'll make is they will bail on players too early. They'll say, oh, like, this guy sucks after one game. And you're like, oh, well, no. Like, we're seeing this a little bit with Michael Gallup, right? People are like, oh, it's all Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. Well, Michael Gallup had like a 50-yard reception called back in week 1 because of a ticky-tack OPI. And I think his numbers look a lot different if that call doesn't get made, right? Or Julio Jones. People are freaking out about Julio Jones. Well, Julio Jones dropped a touchdown pass from Russell Gage, of all people, on Sunday. Something that Julio Jones almost never does, right? And so Julio's going to be just fine. He's Julio Jones. You know what I mean? So it's just sort of that. I think people get panicky early.
Well, that happens in real life, too. I mean, we literally overreact to everything. Drew Brees was dead just a couple days ago. Tom Brady was dead a week and a half ago. So I'm happy to hear that translates from real life into fantasy life as well. My quick question for you as we continue to talk fantasy football here with Matthew Berry, the man who made it a real popular and cool thing to do with the help of ESPN. Do you think that some fantasy leagues are founded by terrorists because they eliminate the punter?
I know. Listen, punter, I don't think they're founded by terrorists, but we haven't found, believe it or not, Pat, this is a true story. I played in a punter fantasy league.
There we go.
Hell yeah. There we go. You can do that on ESPN. You can use punters. You get points for yardage, as you might expect, and you get point. You can set it so that you get points for punts inside the 20 as well. It's not popular. Maybe that should be my next mission. Now that I've got fantasy football to be popular, now I got to get punters included in fantasy football.
I have a scoring system that you guys should do.
Go for it.
Okay, so I think, by the way, the way stats are kept on punters is completely wrong anyways. For the pooch punts, because that directly affects your gross and your net average, that should be a percentage like a free throw. So whenever it's deemed a pooch punt, whether it's 50 and in, that should be a percentage. Like, hey, they want 5 out of 5 on pooch punts today. Then on the other side, that's when you should calculate for yardage and average and everything like that. They bunch them all together, and if you're on a team that has a great defense, not a great offense, you pin them one time, the defense is going to keep them pinned, you get the ball back, you're kicking into a short field all day, and the gross yardage punts aren't going to be big unless if you're on a team that's bad and you have a full field, that changes everything. So these are the things that I would like you to kind of take into your little fantasy football world and say, hey, we have a real legit scoring thing that we could add punters into this world, and I'd be very, very thankful for the brand.
I will. As soon as we're done here, I will send an email to.
Matty! Let's go.
We will do that. Look, by the way, I mean, listen. So I'm a fan of the Washington professional football team. Tough season for us. It's been a tough year, but we do have an amazing punter in Tress Way, who I think is one of the best in the NFL.
Okay, so let's talk about the injuries that happen in the real world football. That affects deeply fantasy football because now you got to bench people, you got to redraft people, trade for people, whatever it is. Do you try to scout like the roster, like, hey, who's potentially going to have a big day that we've never heard of? I assume that, just like you said, with value, that's a big deal. What are you thinking in the fantasy streets right now for this upcoming week with the loss of a lot of superstars?
Yeah, it's always, we always say this very clearly, that fantasy success comes from two things. It comes from talent and opportunity. So, like, I do a show every Sunday called Fantasy Football Now on ESPN2. Get a plug in there. And so one of the things I do is I do a long shot, right? And so my long shot, you guys will appreciate this as indie guys. My long shot last week was Mo Alley Cox.
Great week.
Because I knew Mo Alley Cox is like, this guy, you guys have a former basketball player. They like him a lot there with Jack Doyle banged up, no Trey Burton as well. I think Mo Alley Cox, especially when you think about where Rivers throws the ball, should have a nice game. So this is my long shot last week. Obviously 5 for over 100 last week.
Is that good?
I don't know.
Is that good?
Called that one.
Yeah. So what you do is so it's talent plus opportunity. So who's going to get an opportunity this week? Like there's a guy named Mike Davis, right, who was a very popular waiver wire pickup this week. Chris McCaffrey's out for at least 3 weeks. He was just placed on IR earlier today. Mike Davis is a very good pass-catching running back. I believe he had 8 receptions last week. Like whether it's been in Seattle or Chicago, when he's gotten an opportunity, he has produced. He's caught a lot of passes. And then you think about Teddy Bridgewater, who since he came into the NFL, of the 39 quarterbacks that are qualified since Bridgewater came to the NFL, he's 37th in average depth of target. That's a nerdy stat that basically says he throws short. He does what you look when you watch him and you go like, okay, that's a dink and dunker, right? So that's just a number that tells you that. And so what's he going to do? He's going to throw to his running back, obviously. And so that's a team that's going to be down a lot. They don't have a particularly good defense. They're going to be throwing. They're throwing to the running back, obviously, because McCaffrey's out. So Mike Davis is somebody that I think is going to be wasn't on people's radars 7 days ago, and it's going to be a top 20 fantasy running back this weekend.
Wow, call your shot.
Matthew, what do you tell people that jumped out early and drafted a guy like Gronk? He hasn't got going yet early. Do you look ahead to the future like of their schedule and say, okay, these are some matchups where I think we could get him going. This is where you should start Gronk?
No, I mean, we actually recommended I do a podcast with Field Yates every single day on ESPN. We talked about this, that we feel like you should, unfortunately, drop Rob Gronkowski. Like, no one loves Gronk more than
you said you guys hate him more than Bruce Arians. Give the guy a chance, man.
No, here's what it is. The concern is we talk about talent and opportunity. Look, we know the talent of Gronk. Pat, I think you and I actually met, for the first time you and I met, I think you and I actually met at an event with Gronk at Stadium many years ago.
Yeah.
But so I love Gronk. But the guy has 2 targets through 2 games. I mean, look, we expect that Tampa Bay passing offense to be better. They'll get Godwin back this week, but he's not even at the moment the best tight end on his team. O.J. Howard's been more productive here. And so, you know, we know the talent, but he's just not getting the opportunity, and you don't want to be too slow to react. You want to say, like, hey, he's a big name, and I'm going to wait it out, when there are younger players that have produced, guys like Jonnu Smith, guys like Logan Thomas in Washington. Mike Gesicki is available in over 50% of ESPN leagues in Miami, and he's going to be a big target monster as well. So, unfortunately, I'm a believer in the Tampa Bay offense. I believe it gets better. I'm not sure Gronk is going to be a massive part of that.
Let's talk target monsters. Darren Waller, did you expect him to be anywhere near what he is? He is the guy for that Oakland Raiders offense, because whenever he starts getting the rock, then they got to change the defense, then they hit him with the run game. I mean, that guy is probably a surprise to everybody, but did fantasy people know he was coming?
They did if they listened to me. That was one of my better.
Very cool.
Look, I get plenty of stuff wrong. I might make no mistake, right? But last year, Darren Waller was one of my big preseason favorites. We actually had Greg Olson, the offense coordinator of the at the time the Oakland Raiders, on our podcast at the Combine last February. So this was last February in 2019, and we asked him for a sleeper, and they still had Jared Cook on their roster, and he said, "We have this kid, Darren Waller, converted wide receiver out of Georgia Tech. We got him from Baltimore. We think we have something with him. And I don't know what it's going to translate, but we think we have something on him. We think we have something with him." And so we talked about that. And throughout the offseason all last year, Darren Waller was a deep sleeper for me. Did more research on him, realized how the Raiders were going to use their offense, and obviously he produced. He's a great story, by the way. I don't know if you know his personal story, but he's a great story of redemption as well. Easy guy to root for.
Hey, Mr. Barry, Aaron Rodgers versus New Orleans or Cam Newton versus the Raiders? What do you think?
I like both guys. I have both guys in my top 10, but I'm going with Cam Newton.
And is George Kittle playing?
He's starting in my league.
Raiders are the worst defense.
I don't think George Kittle is playing. The 49ers have come out and said, like, they're highly worried about the turf at MetLife Stadium. You know what I mean? Because they were there last week with the Jets, and they obviously had a lot of injuries. And so he's not at practice today. Kittle isn't. And reading between the lines and seeing the tea leaves, it doesn't feel like Kittle's going to play this week. I feel like he'll be back in week 4.
Hey, Matthew, do you have sources like a guy? I know Schefter was on the show today earlier. Do you have sources like him that you can reach out to? I would imagine injury concerns are a huge deal when it comes to fantasy that you need to keep up with as the week goes.
I do. I do have sources. I definitely have players and coaches and front office personnel around the league that I text. But I'll be honest, some of my sources are Adam Schefter. Just no one's going to have a better source than Shefty. So sometimes I will just text, if I know Shefty has a good source in a situation, I'll just text Shefty and I'll be like, hey, when you're talking to so-and-so, can you also ask him about this for me? And I'll do that with like any of our NFL insiders, whether it's Shefty, whether it's Mort, whether it's Field Yates, Jeff Darlington, Kimberly Martin, you name it, any of our Dan Graziano. We got a lot of guys that do a great job for us, a lot of people that do a great job. So that's honestly, a lot of times I'll just take advantage of who's in house so that three people aren't blowing up the same coach's phone, you know?
I didn't know Maziano was an insider. I had no idea. I thought he was just a
panelist,
a pundit or whatever. What's up, Nick?
Maziano, a great reporter and a great insider. He often breaks stories, yeah.
Maziano, go ahead, Nick.
Mr. Barry, what's the worst fantasy football loser's punishment you've ever seen?
Oh, yeah, we had a good one out here.
God, the worst one. I mean, the worst one or the worst best one? Because the worst one, the worst is, we've all heard about the tattoo leagues, all the guys that get tattoos and the tattoos chosen by the winner of the league. I got sent one where the guy had to get a brand. Like, you know how you brand cattle?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we do.
Like, he literally got branded loser. I was just like, oh my God, that's insanely painful. Like, he was branded
it's not great. It's not great.
Before you made fantasy football popular amongst the masses, the old saying from GMs would be like, well, they're playing fantasy, we're playing real life. Like, it was kind of like something that a lot of GMs and people in NFL actually kind of buried. Then fantasy football kind of took off, and you helped with that entire process. Do you know of any big-time fantasy, I guess you would be the person that would do it, who's made the transition from fantasy football to real-life scout or anything in that, or is it two very different operations and there's no reason to compare anybody?
Yeah, I mean, listen, there are definitely people that dabble in both. I know like my friend Warren Sharp. Like, Warren Sharp dabbles in fantasy football, and he'll also consult for some NFL teams. So there's certainly people that do some deep dive analytical stuff that resonates with fantasy players, but that also have a relationship with the NFL. But it's been slow. We've seen it more in like fantasy baseball. There have legit been fantasy baseball people that have then been hired to front office positions in Major League Baseball.
Are you expecting that in the NFL? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe at some point. Feels like the NFL is slowly starting to come around to analytics. The analytics in football aren't great when it compared to other sports like basketball or baseball in terms of, there's still a lot of work to be done, I should say, I guess, in analytics in football. So maybe at some point, but probably not in the near future.
But aren't you guys all doing the same thing, really? Aren't you trying to evaluate talent and see how they'll do, like, at the next level? Let's say you're not a college kid, but if you're trying to say, should I draft this rookie in my fantasy draft? You go back, watch some of his college tape, see how that translates. Is he going to be in the lineup week one? Like, aren't you guys all doing the same thing, kind of?
Somewhat. Although, I mean, listen, the example I always give is this is going to sound weird, but like Troy Aikman. Like, Troy Aikman, obviously Hall of Fame NFL quarterback, was a terrible fantasy quarterback because he didn't throw touchdown passes. He handed off to Emmett whenever he got close.
Hey,
right?
I'm a Troy guy. Take it easy over here.
So I'm just saying, like, what we look for in fantasy football isn't necessarily always what you're looking for. Certain things you're looking for, like I mean, I think both pro scouts and fantasy scouts, we were all in on Jonathan Taylor, right? We all thought he would be very successful in the NFL and a very successful fantasy running back. So sometimes they marry each other, and you're looking for skill, but other times there are players that aren't maybe great NFL players, but are good fantasy players just because of the situation and the offense they're in. I mean, like Blake Bortles has 2 different seasons as a top 10 fantasy quarterback in his resume, right?
Player.
Because
always behind
the Jacksonville would get down and they would just throw junk time, and he would lose. He would lose games, 45 to 28. But he'd have 4 touchdown passes. I mean, Jameis Winston last year during his 30 interception season that caused him to become a backup was the 5th best quarterback in fantasy last year. Jameis Winston. So what we look for sometimes doesn't relate to what, NFL scouts are looking for.
Last question for you here, Matthew. We can't thank you enough for your big old brain and your time here.
Hey, Mr. Barry, from the YouTube chat, who do you think is the greatest fantasy football player of all time?
Probably LaDainian Tomlinson. Yep. I mean, just because of the position he played and the consistency he had for so many years. There was like 6 or 7 years there where he was just like the number one guy all time. There's a lot of quarterbacks. You can make an argument for Peyton. You can make an argument for Brady. Jackson Mahomes are certainly on their way. But for me, I'm going to go with LaDainian Tomlinson.
Matthew Barry, we can't thank you enough. We love your podcast you do daily with Field Yates named
Fantasy Focus Football, available wherever you get podcasts.
Triple F's for sure. Our friend who made fantasy football popular with the masses, ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Barry. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate you. We don't need him. Diggs.
I didn't mean to sit down. Didn't mean
Tony Barry Diggs.
Yeah, Tony buried Barry there a couple times.
Yeah,
I mean, unbelievable. Twice, by the way.
Twice, back to back.
Back to back, just halfway through the guy's sentence.
We're done with you, Matthew.
Yeah,
I got this.
Don't need you, actually. We've got 10 Diggs over here, actually. Fantasy football
I
expert.
know. Just ask me.
Jesus.
I will say, though, my team got a lot better.
Cam Newton, you're taking for sure?
Yes.
Yeah.
George Kittle.
I assume he gets asked a lot of it. By the way, any question you have for Matthew Barry, direct at Tone Diggs.
Yeah, he'll know actually. Funny thing about
Not true.
I bet you that guy takes a lot of hell, though, if he gets anything wrong. Fantasy football, people take the branding. Nick had to do a beer mile, then he had to chug a beer for 4 field goals and punt. He puked everywhere. It is. I've never got into it because it's a lot of time. You got to invest a lot of time into that. But, man, it is insanity of that world over there.
Are they still doing? Are all these leagues still doing the crazy punishments for whoever gets last place?
No. Not all of them. It's a goddamn gimmick. I mean, it is.
I mean, I'm gonna like if I was in a league with 20 other people and they said, hey, if you're last place, you got to get a brand that says loser. I'm like, oh yeah, cool, sounds good. And if I was 20th place, I'd say, sorry, bud, this is not that serious.
Well, you can't play next year then. Yeah. You can't play next year, AJ.
Not, AJ.
I'll choose one of the other 6 billion leagues to join.
We got to get to a break. We'll be back on the other side with some of your phone calls. If you have any fantasy questions, direct them at Fantasy Tone. Can't wait to hear his answers.
My bad. That's Connor's thing. I know.
That'll be our go-to. Tone will be our go-to in fantasy football this year.
No, he won't.
Can't wait to win daily fantasy at FanDuel. That'd be awesome. We're back on the other side with YouTube questions and also phone calls. This is the Pat McAfee Show. I was on a team that was very bad at football. We almost were completely defeated until Dan Orlovsky showed up and got 2 big wins. We ended up almost losing the luck pick because Dan Orlovsky everybody thinks they're going to get fired. Every player thinks they're going to get cut. Every coach thinks they're going to get fired. They try to pawn blame off on other positional groups. If it's the linebackers, they're like, we did our job. D-line can't do anything, can't stop it. There's a lot of that chatter, but it's a miserable existence. I mean, it's just the way it is. That's why you have to have so much respect for a player like Joe Thomas, who played a perennial all-pro career in a situation that was so negative and so terrible. I think if Joe Thomas got a chance and his knees let him experience a winning organization, I couldn't even fathom what Joe Thomas would have thought. I mean, life is just much better whenever you win. When you win, food tastes better. Drinks taste better. Sex feels better. Everything is better when you win. Winning cures all, they say. That's not just in the building and for a football team. That's in your life. Everything is just better when you win. And when you lose, especially when you're talking about some of the most competitive humans on earth, it is a nightmare. You got a lot of people trying to jump off the ship. You got a lot of people trying to figure it out. And whenever you're in a situation like that, it's just a full-blown nightmare for everybody. You got to think, when you get to the NFL, let's assume that the humans that make it to the NFL have had a lot of success through their lives. High school football, probably one good player, a guy who's going to make the NFL can lead a team to success. In college, if you have a couple good players that are going to make the NFL and make it to the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins stink, you're still going to make it to the NFL. Let's assume that team has had success. So then you get to a completely unsuccessful operation, a completely defeated operation, and then it's like, man, this is a whole new life for us. I'll never forget, I had a coach, special teams coach. I won't say his name because this is a terrible thing to say as a coach. We lost the game. It was back in the first regime. We were a good team. We lost the game, and everybody was moping. Like people were not happy that we lost the game the next day. He was, you guys just haven't lost enough. That's what he said. Everybody looked at him and was like, yeah, no crap. What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, this is the winningest decade in NFL history here. Yeah, you haven't lost enough. It's like, you've lost too much, maybe. Are you just comfortable at this point? And that's whenever it can get a little scary. Whenever people are just comfortable just getting their asses kicked every week, that could be a problem. That's when the culture is probably a lost cause. That's when the locker room's too worried about playing dice or playing Boo-Ray or anything else like that. When that starts happening after losses, then you know you're in a bad spot. And I would assume that's not happening at the Dolphins, especially under Ryan Fitzpatrick's watch. But maybe it is. I don't know. But that is a miserable existence. I am not a fan of that.
The Pat McAfee Show.
Not bad.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show here, Hour 3. McAfee and Hawk joining us. AJ Hawk just got done talking fantasy football with Matthew Berry and Tone Diggs. It was an awesome time. AJ, did you hear this? He mentioned it about the MetLife Stadium, which, by the way, is the home of a man potentially almost wrecking and taking it out and ruining WrestleMania. That person being Zito, who drove an RV right into the building and took the entire top off the RV, causing quite a scene with police, security, and an entire situation on WrestleMania Sunday.
It wasn't my fault, though.
But that wasn't your fault. And
yellow shirts.
No, it was your fault. You hit the gas while going into an overpass.
We'll never know what he was going to say.
I was led into that.
Anyways, that's something that you would have to be around for the last couple of years of our show to understand what we're talking about. But MetLife Stadium is now becoming a topic of conversation because their players were saying that the field was tacky, that's why people were getting hurt out there. The Steelers and the Giants opened up on Monday Night Football there a week before that. I didn't hear the Steelers complain about anything or the Giants complain about anything. I don't think this is something that players would just make up, though. Like, I don't think players are going to be like, hey, that field was tacky for no reason. I think there is a legitimate concern, obviously, by the NFL and the NFLPA. They're going to check it out. But it doesn't make sense to me that they already had a game there, unless they're just changing the entire field when the Jets play and the Giants play, which then I guess is a whole new conversation.
Well, it's new field turf, I think. It's somewhat new. So, yeah. But players know the second they walk out for warm-ups, I think if the turf is weird, that's one of the first things you want to get a feel for, especially on field turf. Oh, is it like a newer spongy type of field turf with a lot of the black rubber isn't worn down and into the fiber as much as, say, an older one that isn't as tacky? When you hear players say it feels tacky, that's what I think is scary. I mean, field turf already, when you're wearing cleats, if your foot is in the ground, like, your foot will twist, but your cleats aren't going to chunk up that grass. That's what you need so you don't tear Achilles, you don't tear your ACL. So I think when you wear cleats and it's not very good field turf, I think it's absolutely dangerous. The players wouldn't just make it up out of nowhere. Now, some guys, I'm sure, have stronger reactions than others do. Like, oh, man, I don't know. I see like seams in here. Like, I know Houston, they said that about back in the day. People were worried because Houston had big seams that you could actually see. Now, they seem to have figured that out, haven't they?
The kicker's name was Brett something. He was a kickoff specialist for the Texans, and he was jogging down the field in Houston, and his knee just got torn on one of the seams. And I believe he had a lawsuit against it, and they had to change the entire field. But there's a couple fields that people talk about that aren't great. You know, like some places spray paint the dirt to make it look like it's green on camera, a la Heinz Field before their last grass entire thing. Chicago does that. But the people are like, well, it got checked off. It's compliant in this. Everybody has investigated it. And I think the narrative is like, oh, they were lying about that. I just don't think that's something that players would lie about. I don't know why they would make that up. But I guess TBD, we'll find out as time rolls on. What's up,
I'm
Tony?
sure there's stats that there's probably less knee injuries and stuff on grass. Is it surprised that the NFLPA hasn't tried to get like every field as a grass field?
Yeah, I mean, there was an initiative there for a while where guys were trying to fight for grass only, but then you got to bank on good field groundskeepers and all that. And some grass fields are worse than anything, but the turf, there is like documented stats, like turf is harder for your knees, your ankles, and there's more injuries. But when you come to just having a consistent playing field, the turf is there. I always said, hey, let's make every single place a dome. Hey, let's make every place a dome, okay? And by the way, maybe because of my position, but if we're all playing on the same field, it's fair. We have enough money to do it. Let's go ahead and just play at a dome. No games will potentially get postponed or canceled. There's no football getting ruined because of just a blizzard happening out there. Well, they're both playing on the same field. I agree. Hey, I'm on your side. But if they're all playing on the same exact field every single day, then we have a real tell on what it is. But then people are like, well, that's kind of the charm is like, everybody's different and everything like that. It's like, well, when people get hurt and they're pissed off about the fucking field, I mean, then you got to answer that question yourself.
Do the spikes or the cleats matter at all, or is this just all on more of the grass?
I think so.
Yeah,
you shouldn't be wearing. Hopefully, people aren't wearing screw-ins out there on field turf. You don't need to do that. I think field turf was invented to not wear cleats, to wear the little nubs. Remember the old school like nub soccer cleats?
Yeah,
that's what you really should be wearing. A lot of quarterbacks will wear that on field turf. Guys that maybe not have to run and cut as much. But yeah, when you get your cleats stuck in that field turf, I've watched dudes ACLs blow because their foot wouldn't come out of the ground, things like that. It's nasty, man. There's no way that we're going to see more teams going to field turf than grass, because grass, you got to have the way more, like the grounds crew is 24 hours a day trying to figure it out, especially as the season gets later on, that you have worse weather, especially if you're not down south. And when you have field turf, think about it. Why do all these high schools have field turf? Because you can have 7,000 events each year on this field and charge money and have these huge things. And there's really not a whole lot of maintenance. Just clean it up, brush it, run the little machine that brushes all the garbage and dip spit down into the field turf. So when guys are laying there, it gets stuck on their cheek. Like, that's all you got to do.
And yeah, I love whenever they tell you to bear crawl on a field that is turf, and you've seen numerous people puke, spit, and sweat all over it. Get your hands down in the dirt. It's like, oh, do I have to? I mean, I think this is exactly where old coach. And I saw Tom puke yesterday. Yep, get in there. You got to do what you got to do. My favorite, University of Phoenix Stadium in Arizona, it's a grass field, and that son of a bitch just walks outside to get sun and then comes back inside. I think Las Vegas is doing the same thing. That is the model. By the way, domes, both of those domes, grass field, they get it on rollers, walks outside for a few hours, gets some sun, comes back inside, gets water. Those fields are gorgeous. Let's go to a phone call here. Let's go to Dante in Baltimore. Dante, what's going on, pal?
Hey, Pat, AJ, what's going on, guys?
Hey, hanging out. How are you, dude? All right?
I'm doing good, Pat. Look, before I get into my question, I got to say, you are dripping today. The swag is on 11. I respect it.
I actually have a big interview coming up after the show, potentially for College Game Day, and you will see why I'm dripping in what I'm wearing with who I'm talking to. So I appreciate the acknowledgement, Dante. I appreciate that. Let's get to it, pal.
Yeah, no problem. So I was watching the interview with Aaron Rodgers yesterday, and something kind of stuck out to me when he was talking about why he's playing so well. So when he said he has a newfound love for the game, he kind of smirked, and I feel like he emphasized love a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think he was taking a shot at the Packers organization there for some draft choices that they made?
Very interesting, Dante. And immediately following the show, I knew I missed a moment there because he said it all revolves around love. And Jordan Love is obviously a man who was drafted. But I think it's about Aaron potentially loving maybe who he is and his integrity and everything like that. Because you hear those people who get real, good with themselves. They talk about love and positive and radiating. And I think that's what Aaron was doing. But I did miss the jump back. Like, oh, love. Is that like Jordan Love? Is that what you're talking about? So that's on me. That's bad hosting.
I don't think, though. Do you think he would have? I think he would have laughed at you if you just said, "What, love? Oh, because of Jordan Love? Is you're taking a shot?" Like, he would have been like, "No, I'm trying to be serious. I'm trying to have a serious moment here, Pat. Why do you have to bring it back to this?"
And by the way, good, situational awareness. It was not the time to jump on that answer. I knew the answer that he was giving at that moment was what everybody wanted to hear. But afterwards, the emphasis on love, much like Dante thought. I was like, oh, I missed the Jordan Love thing right there. But I don't think that has to do with Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love's last name is one that revolves around maybe some positivity, which Aaron seems to have found in the last couple months. And everybody's like, well, it's because his relationship with Jordan Love. It's like, maybe the guy just wanted to love himself for a second.
Let him be happy.
Maybe he just wanted to accept himself, be happy, and figure it all out. But there's another article that just came out on the other side of the world. Aaron Rodgers finds happiness in his headspace after leaving Danica. It's like, whoa. That is not what he said. That is not what he said.
A lot of people ran with it, though.
It's everywhere, by the way. And, hey, I did say that was going to happen. Let's go to Nick in Big Sky Country. What's going on, you Montanimal?
Hey, Pat, AJ, and the boys. How's it going?
Not too shabby. What do you want to talk about, brother?
I got a question about your former teammate. I want to hear your best story about Colt Anderson, born and raised in Butte, Montana. So was I, played for the Grizz. Great guy.
Also from Butte, Montana, I believe Evel Knievel, and the guy who killed Bin Laden is from Butte, Montana.
Oh, Makuya. Rob O'Neill.
Kyle.
Him, yeah, Makuya. He's also from Butte, Montana, I believe. Colt Anderson, who was my original Montanimal. That's what I used to call him. He was my personal protector. He's this little white guy. By the way, if you're getting somebody from Montana on your team, they're all going to look the same. They're going to be, except for Brock Osweiler. He was a bit different. But most Montana folks, shorter, whiter, they work very hard, and they'll do whatever. They will run their faces directly into a wall if you ask them to. And Colt Anderson was one of those guys. I felt very safe whenever he was my personal protector out of Montana. Now he's, I believe, a special teams assistant coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, who obviously had to battle through in the special teams department the worst cramp in the history of sports week 1. So shout out to Colt Anderson. I love him. Also, big Montana guy. I've never been there, but I got a lot of friends from Montana, including Mitt's father. That place was awesome, my friend. And Yellowstone, everybody loves the show.
Pat, hey, you know Mike Nugent signed to the Cardinals practice squad
right now?
Yeah, he signed that. He went there last week. I think had a few days before like COVID testing worked out on Thursday or whatever, and I guess they brought him in to sit there and kick during the week on practice squad and hang out in case their kicker gets COVID, or I guess who is their kicker unless something goes wrong. I don't know.
Zane Gonzalez, who's been hit or miss throughout his entire career, had a massive leg and a massive upside. It's interesting. This has happened a couple times with kickers going on to the practice squad. I assume that's because they extended how many people are allowed on the practice squad. Nick Folk is on the practice squad up there in New England. I've heard a couple other teams are potentially going to sign kickers to practice squads. I don't know if it's because COVID or because of production. I don't know which one it is. Like, hey, we want to let you know, like, what you did. We're not going to take that shit much longer. And we got a guy right here that you can watch who is going to put the ball through the uprights, especially Mike Nugent. This is his first time. How old is he? He might be one of, I guess Josh McCown's the oldest guy ever on practice squad.
I think he's 38 now.
I mean, this is good for him, by the way, just collecting a check. I assume they negotiated a deal. He's not probably getting the same old practice squad check, I would assume, Mike Nugent, or maybe he is. I don't know.
I don't know what he's getting, but at least he gets another year added to everything for his pension, 401k, like all that, and he might get called up to the big leagues, get another shot.
And the ball flies in Arizona. I mean, it flies. That's probably the number 2 spot after Denver that you'd want to go to, that the ball just flies.
Is that the dome? Is that the indoor effect there?
Well, and I think its elevation is good too. In a desert, I believe, has a little bit thinner air. You know, it's a dry heat.
Cuts right through it.
So the ball flies there. I think I averaged like 97 yards a punt or something in the Fiesta Bowl there. No big deal. No, it was not obviously that, but it was high. JP, what do you want to talk about, brother?
What's up, Pat? What's up, AJ?
What's happening?
What's up, dude?
What do you got?
Attaboy, AJ.
Whoa.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We got you, man.
What's going on, brother?
You got a great question here?
All jacked up. AJ, are you calling in Conference USA games this year?
Great
question. I have Tulane Southern Miss this week.
Oh, yeah! Let's go! Is this going to be on TV, or are we going to be able to watch it?
It'll be on there, whatever. Yeah. You might be able to check it out. Don't worry. I know there's no chance. I don't need you to watch it, Pat, but everyone else will.
I'll watch it. I'll watch it. What channel?
Yeah. I don't know. It depends where you are, I think. It's on Stadium carries it, but then it's all over the Fox Sports channels all over the country.
What's that?
Don't worry about it. It's not worth even trying to explain to you what it is.
Why not? I'd like to know. AJ, I would like to watch you work, Bob.
Last year they streamed them online, and then they also had them like just local area. Now I guess they're being carried on all the regional Fox channels. Like there's a channel that everybody has.
Fox Sports Midwest.
Yeah.
All right.
Fox Sports Midwest.
Yeah. And on Stadium. Stadium is streaming it online. Is that on YouTube, on a website, on an app? How can we watch?
Well, it used to be streamed on Facebook. That's not happening anymore. But yeah, you can watch it on Stadium.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
You know, everybody's trying to get you to go to their app. So yeah, their app.
What's the game again? Tulane, Mississippi?
Tulane at Southern Miss. I think I've mentioned this game 6 different times over the last 3 weeks on this show.
Yep. Still don't know where Stadium is, but I would like to watch it. Have you done a lot of research for this game? Frank Gore's kid's a freshman down there. He's going to run all over that Tulane team. I'm scared.
Beast.
Yeah, he's good, man. Frank Gore, they got a good quarterback in Jack Abraham, Southern Miss. And you know what? I think they have like 12,000 people in the stands.
Wow. Be careful.
Are you going, or are you calling from home?
I'm absolutely going. Yeah.
Are you going to go out and touch the people? You know, because it's been a while. Like go out and.
I'll be quarantined in the booth, probably 30 feet from my play-by-play partner.
Neil Diamond starts playing.
I think my favorite thing about those commentators is they have to stand on the other side of a glass, and it's like the old school restaurants where you had a smoking section and a non-smoking section, but the glass didn't go all the way to the sky. And the funny thing about smoke is it would just go right over the separation, which was very interesting. And by the way, we don't know enough about COVID. And if COVID does drop, I guess those glasses are good because it'll go down. But it seems like they just talk right over top of it. Be safe out there. Speaking of COVID, we have a poll that we've put out today, Zito poll, and it has your world potentially in a blender over there in the Big Ten. What do we got, Zeke?
Yep. Since the Big Ten left zero wiggle room for the COVID, will they be able to finish the season? Yep, 32.1%. A whopping no, 67.9%.
Hey, with the Notre Dame game being postponed at this point, and now the Baylor University of Houston conversation that's kind of been leaked, there is a lot of expectation by the teams to communicate with each other throughout the week with their health officials, like numerous conversations about how they're looking in the COVID front. And the Houston team wasn't told until like 22 hours before the game that they weren't going to be able to play because of Baylor positive tests or whatever. Now Notre Dame's obviously has a little bit of an outbreak. They have 4 players, I guess, on their team. Who knows what players they are. The Big Ten is setting themselves up to potentially not finish the season. Do you think the presidents and Kevin Warren did this on purpose? Because they're like, yo, you want a season? Okay, here it is. We'll give you zero wiggle room for potential postponement if COVID breaks out.
Man, I sure hope not. You would think now Kevin Warren and the rest of the people that originally postponed the Big Ten season, try to say we're going to the spring, you would hope they're rooting for the season to happen. Don't you think now that they have reversed course?
No.
I don't know.
No
exact
way.
opposite of that.
Yeah,
just so they can say, hey, I told you so. Is that all they want? Are they that petty?
Yeah. I don't know if petty is the word, but I do believe if you're in a position of power and you make decisions and you make one, and then ultimately it ends up getting changed because nobody else makes the same decision or there's new information or anything like that, your initial reaction is going to be the one you're tied to the closest. I don't know. I might be wrong. Maybe I am a little bit more petty than they are, but I would assume giving it an 8-week time period for 8 games for every one of them is them saying, like, if you want a season, all right, make it happen. Because they had to have watched around and seen what everybody else done in the MLB, what has happened in the college football season thus far, and noticed that there's probably going to come a time where one of these games is going to be postponed, but it's not going to be able to because there's no time to do it. What do you got?
You're talking about Houston. Saturday's Houston North Texas game just got canceled. It's the 5th game Houston has had canceled on them.
Jesus.
By the way, never Houston's fault. So you can see that Houston's getting upset because of somebody else. But let's say it's only one Big Ten team that can't play. Then they can't substitute out another team to put in. Like, it is potential massive failure, and we're not the only ones that think it's probably not going to pan out. The internet's saying the same damn thing, AJ, and that always means something.
Oh, yeah.
Did they say how many positive tests they had at North Texas? I have a North Texas game in 2 weeks, I think.
You might as well, hop on a plane going elsewhere, pal.
Yeah, make new plans.
New plans. Stop studying film. I think COVID's dropping bows on all of North Texas. I think they had a kicker who had an early problem. I think
next week, actually next Saturday, I'm supposed to be at North Texas, so we will see.
Wear a gas mask, AJ. Wear a gas mask.
I hope the game happens.
4, AJ. 4 positives.
Okay, let's go to Michael in Texas who has something about this. What do you want to talk about, Michael?
Yeah, Pat, I just had a question. I'm out here studying for the MCAT, and me and my roommates, we were just wondering your thoughts on this. Who's got better boobs, Andy Reid or John Gruden?
Okay, let's go to Brendan in Michigan. What's going on, Brendan?
Hey, how's it going, Pat?
Studying for the MCAT. I hope you fail. What do you want, Brendan? What do you want to talk about? That's kind of rude of me. I hope he passes.
No,
I hope he fails.
He deserves to fail.
No, I hope he passes. I hope he passes.
Fail.
I hope he passes. Good luck out there.
Chargers will hire him.
Gee.
Come on, Nick.
Brendan, what do you want to talk about?
As long as he has a Dewey.
No.
So your boomstick FanDuel that's been running since last year. I was wondering who you got for some locks this week.
Thank you for that. I haven't picked my lock this week. And now, granted, I would like to let everybody know that last week's lock was changed drastically by a doctor shoving a needle through the starting quarterback of the Chargers' lungs. I mean, I was surprised as anybody else. So I think I was being judged a little bit harshly for something that I did not know all the information for. Know that on Friday when I come out with my lock super boost, it is going to be a lock next week, AJ.
You think? So wait, when do you make all these picks? Like, when does everything happen for you? When you give out all these locks that people have to jump on?
Thanks for following product. Friday is when we release the Super Boost, which means FanDuel already has the best odds on the internet for all the bets, but I boost them up each season.
Good save though.
Quick feet.
Good save.
For those that aren't watching,
listeners, you almost went down bad. Did your chair roll off the back of your little desk where it's set up?
Yeah, so the thing is, I've been sitting in the same spot for so long, there's like little craters in the stage, and normally the seat kind of gets locked in there, and I can do a little lean. Turns out we moved the rock, pal. We got on the other side, and I almost just got schoolboyed by my own chair there. That is tough, but I will survive. I mean, hey, we're all going through stuff, okay?
Hell yeah.
Great center of gravity.
It is good center of gravity.
I lost my entire headset, though. That's on me. Friday, though, AJ, is when I put on my lock. And we start out a little rocky, obviously.
That's okay.
We still got 15 more weeks, though. Who says I'm not going to go 15-2? Just like a lot of the 0-2 teams are thinking, hey, we can go 15-2. AJ, here's a question. Out of the 0-2 teams, which one do you think is the best football team? I'll read them. Dolphins, Jets, Bengals, Texans, Broncos, Giants, Eagles, Lions, Vikings, Falcons, Panthers. What do you think?
Gosh. What do I get? Does it matter if the quarterback is hurt? Like Drew Lock's out for 3 to 5 weeks for the Broncos?
Yeah.
But they did sign Blake Bortles, who is a top 5 fantasy football quarterback as backup to Jeff Driscoll, who had a pretty good start. So, yeah, I think just you're looking at the team as it is right now with the injuries that they have. Giants have no Saquon, so it's not like if Saquon was in there.
So, yeah, that's a tough one. You know what? I'm going to jump out and take the Falcons, and I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me. Yes, they've lost 2 close games, and you could look at it and say, oh, they don't know how to finish a game. They're ever since they lost the Super Bowl, they haven't been able to put it together. Yeah, you could say that, but I say, hey, they're really close. They're scratching. They're almost there. They're about to get to the other side.
They got spanked by the Seahawks, AJ.
Seahawks are a good team.
Spanked.
It's all right. Seahawks are a great team. Russell Wilson is leading the charge for MVP right up there with Aaron.
And Kyler Murray and
Cam
Newton. I'm not going to pick one because, that's why I asked you for. But if I had to lean towards a team, it would be either the Vikings or the Texans in my eyes, strictly because the Vikings, this is the same thing that happened last year. They were all over the place. They all hated each other. They hated going to work, and then they figured it out. I think they still have a good roster. I think Dalvin Cook's unbelievable. I think Thielen will be able to figure it out. I just think the Vikings will be able to figure it out, even though they look terrible. And I'm thankful they look terrible because they got the Colts off the 0-2 schneid where they could have been on here. In the Houston Texans, anytime you have Deshaun Watson, I think you have a chance. Now, granted, they trade away his best weapon, but will Deshaun Watson be able to do in magical moments? So I'm going to go with the Vikings, actually. I just talked myself out of that. I'm picking the Minnesota Vikings out of this entire crew, but I could see why you would pick the Falcons, especially because they've played good football. They've played some good football. They just don't know the rules of the football. Let's go to Eduardo in Texas. What's going on, Eduardo?
How's it going, Pat?
Not too shabby, Eduardo. What are you going to talk about, bub?
I was going to ask, what's the most overrated 2-0 team right now?
Great question. We'll lead right into that. So now we will talk about the 2-0 teams that we think are the most overrated. And I think everybody will give the same exact answer here. Say it with me, everybody. Chicago Bears.
Bear down.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Oh,
man.
come on, AJ. Don't give in to peer pressure.
I don't know. Are the Tennessee Titans legit?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They suck.
They're good. Tennessee Titans are good, but how good are they? Are they good enough to get to the AFC Championship?
AJ, if the Tennessee Titans and the Chicago Bears played against each other, who do you think would be favored?
Right now, the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, so let's go to your next choice.
Is anyone saying that the Chiefs aren't as good as they think they are?
No, they had a bad game. They won't have a bad game.
But are people jump off the bandwagon? Oh, yeah, this is what happens. You pay a guy $500 million. You guys aren't any good. You barely squeak a victory out.
They're still 2-0, and they got Harrison Butker kicking balls for them. They're in a good spot for a long time. I think a lot of people would potentially say the Los Angeles Rams just because of what happened
Raiders. The Raiders are questionable?
Hey, I don't think so after watching them on Monday. They looked unbelievable. The Saints aren't 2-0. Obviously, they lost.
No, beat the Saints. I'm saying the Saints are a good team.
Yeah, I think the Raiders. I think out of this team, I think out of these teams, and now granted, the Chicago Bears might rattle off another 14 wins. They might go 16-0. Maybe Mitchell Trubisky in the fourth quarter and the first half of the last game is the Mitchell Trubisky we'll get. But I think everybody on earth is saying that the Bears are the worst undefeated team thus far because that's what you have to do in the sports talk show business. You have to do that. And if I'm the Bears, I'm putting that all over the building, letting everybody know that they don't believe in us yet again. Hey, Mitchell, they don't believe in you, buddy. You know what I believe in, though?
Oh, yeah?
I believe in tobacco less products.
Hell yeah.
Glad you said it.
I believe in products that can replace the tobacco that's been having a stranglehold on a lot of things for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And there's a company that we've partnered up with, and we've gotten a chance to know a little bit because we had a lot of chewers in the office, and they and their families were like, hey, we'd like you to get off of the tobacco. We would like you to stop chewing tobacco. And the boy said, well, it's impossible because not only are you addicted to the nicotine, but you're also addicted to the habit of putting something in your mouth and spitting. And all the alternatives in the history and of alternatives to tobacco products haven't been able to fit as well into your mouth. They haven't been able to hold up. They have bad taste. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Canadip's CBD tobacco-less pouches that have taken the place of this entire office of any tobacco product that we could possibly have. Right now, you go to CanadipCBD.com and use promo code LIPBOOMERS. You'll get 15% off your first order of tobacco-free pouches. That is CanadipCBD.com and use promo code LIPBOOMERS for 15% off your first order of tobacco-free pouches. It has CBD in there, so it makes your body feel better. And it actually fits and feels like tobacco pouches actually do. Am I not stating that correctly, Ty Schmidt?
100%, yeah. It's not like the other BS. You know, you got sticks and stems in there. It feels like, you know, the real deal, and it tastes great.
Yeah, there's multiple flavors. It all tastes great. It works great. You can still get the spit in there, and you're getting away from tobacco, which could potentially be doing massive harm to your body. We're no doctors, but that is something I believe that is factually correct. Add some CBD pouches to your life from Canadip CBD. Go to CanadipCBD.com. Use promo code LIPBOOMERS for 15% off. AJ, we got 90 seconds before this show ends. Anything you want to say to the people?
I don't know. Do we know, like, injury? I'm worried about, like, Julio Jones. How do we know he re-aggravated a hamstring? Do we know about it? I just picked them to be the best 0-2 teams on earth.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big question on whether or not the best wide receiver that's in football by a lot of people's standards, whether or not he's going to be playing football. That's probably a bit tough there. Yeah, I don't know if there's any updates coming out of the Atlanta Falcons camp about Julio Jones at the moment.
Hey, you had Austin Hooper on yesterday. I know we've got to get to a break, but when you said he was a blocking tight end, do you think he was offended by that?
No. I love that, I think, because he's already put up.
Love that, but Hooper's a pass-catching tight end as well.
Yeah, but I think it's understood that if you're a tight end, you can catch the ball. Although down in Tampa Bay, it seems like that is not what the tight end's for. Like, hey, if you get no catches, you get no catches, what Bruce Arians said. That was wild. I'm excited to see how that whole thing works out through the rest of the season. Austin Hooper, friend of the show. Love that guy.
Great guy.
Charles Davis, also awesome. Deuce McAllister, legendary. Adam Shefty, thanks for making some time. And Matthew Berry, the man who made fantasy sports popular. Can't thank him enough. And obviously you, AJ, you're the best.
Thanks, guys. Had a good time today.
You know who's next?
Mad Dog
Mad Dog Russo with Mad Dog Unleashed is on the other side of the break here on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, Sirius XM. We'll be back tomorrow for a Thirsty Thursday with guests and conversations that you won't want to miss. You won't want to miss. That was a real good tease, I think.
True.
That was a real good tease. I felt good about that. AJ, you want to take some phone calls here?
Yeah.
All right, let's finish out the phone calls here, and then we'll check in on the poll, and then we'll figure it out.
Did you see that? What were you just? Is something wrong over there, AJ? It looked like
eyes damn near just exploded out of your head.
Yeah.
What happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Jesus, I feel bad for anyone watching that. And have nightmares tonight.
I would have turned it off.
What happened?
I have no idea.
It looked like he was trying to murder someone with the look he was giving the camera.
His eyes got like this big real quick, and then he kind of just went back to normal. It was very frightening.
His jaw.
Really?
What's that all about, dude? Your eyes all right? Is everything okay?
I don't know. I'm not aware of this. I have some lights in here, so it's kind of bright actually.
Anyone from the back see that? Or
you all right, AJ? I think people are worried about the potential eyeball size.
Scared for you,
yeah. I mean, it's startling.
You look like that guy that pops his eyes out. You know what I
mean? I'll keep tabs on it. I'll see, and I'll let you guys know how I'm feeling.
I didn't see it. I'll probably see it again. Oh my God, I just saw it. Zito just showed it to me. Hey, it really.
Let me see.
It's going to be tough.
It's going to be a tough
can't really do it.
Oh my God!
Look at that.
Can you zoom in? I mean, that is
exhaling smoke. It looks like.
No.
Yeah, but don't think about the smoke. Think about because look, I missed it. I'm looking down there. Look at those eyes right there.
What did you see back there?
Is something going on?
I'll never tell you.
Oh,
Like Buffalo Bill.
Jeez. Let's go to Caleb.
Lotion in the bath.
Let's go to Caleb in Wisconsin. What's going on, Caleb?
Not much, Pat. How are you?
Oh, come on, Caleb.
Not too shabby, Caleb. Thanks for asking, man.
I had a question for AJ. Who was your favorite teammate or person to be around during your time in Green Bay?
Wow, good question. I was very, very fortunate to play with a lot of guys that I had a ton of respect for and loved being around them. If I had to choose, it's tough to single somebody out, but yeah, probably our guest, our Tuesday reoccurring guest, Aaron Rodgers. I just happened to sit next to him my first day there in a team meeting, right next to him. So therefore, the seat you choose day one is usually the one you stick with. So I was there for 9 straight years next to him every morning and every team meeting, and got to know him well and still do. So yeah, I would say Aaron.
Was that accidental, or you did that on purpose?
No, I mean, your first date. First off, Favre was right in the row right behind us, and he'd sit behind you and fart on your neck. So it wasn't a great spot. Not the best spot. He put his leg up on the seat behind it, right next to you. All right, here we go.
Just give people pink eye.
You can't get mad at Brett Favre for that.
Hey, Favre lives his best life, by the way. He's out there just. Yeah. I mean, I saw his grandson say that he was worth $33,000 or whatever on the grind, whatever it is, the grind show that he was. Yeah. Why he was in Tampa is because he's interviewing Tom Brady. I was asked to be a part of that show, but they wanted me to travel to a city for like 3 days a week and do a full interview. Very good pieces, I think. And Brett Favre and Tom. What's that?
What is the show? Favre goes around and interviews a bunch of different players?
No, it's a bunch of alumni players that they fly in and they kind of like do the week of with the player or whatever. It's a good idea. I think Rich Eisen hosted. I forget the name of the show. It's on Epix.
I think it is The Grind.
I think it's on Grind. Yeah, so Brett Favre was probably down there with Tom Brady for 3 days. I assume the content's going to be good. They're already leaking out some footage that they got. But yeah. Good thing they got a win there. I'd assume that's a little bit different than if they were to lose.
Some of the players on there were not happy Brett Favre was in the Buccaneers Stadium.
Yeah, because their families weren't allowed in there, but they didn't understand that the NFL was actually paying him to be there. Yeah. So your family
He's
kick rocks.
He's a media member, just like the other credentialed media members.
Correct.
Fantasy Tony, what's it called? It's called The Grind?
I couldn't find it yet.
I did see it was The Grind, yeah.
Darian in Florida, what's going on, Darian?
Back it up.
Hey, boys. AJ, how we all doing?
Not too shabby. Wombat.
Back it up.
Wombat.
Well, I'm a diehard Eagles fan, and you get the chance to play with Eagles legend Trent Cole. I'm just curious if you have any good stories about him.
Trent Cole had some of the most mesmerizing eyes I've ever seen in my entire life. The man loved to hunt. I think the thing that immediately sticks out is we played the Raiders on Christmas Eve, and Derek Carr was on a run to potentially be MVP and all this, and Trent Cole tackled him, and he got his knee twisted, and that was towards the end of the year. The Raiders were about to go on a run. He gets hurt. Trent Cole immediately after the game starts getting death threats from the Oakland Raiders fans. Trent Cole, good guy, though. Cool guy. Very cool guy. Good player.
I played against Trent Cole in high school. He played tailback. He was an absolute monster.
He's a farmer now. He's got like corn. He
has a hunting show. He had a hunting show for a while. Is he still doing it?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen the pictures. I think it kind of is a seasonal thing like hunting is, but he is a full-on farmer at this point. And wow. Nice guy. Good guy. Let's go to Tyler in Ohio. Last question here. Tyler, what's going on?
Hey, Pat. I was surfing on Reddit a couple days ago, and I saw there's some controversy going on with Harrison Butker's game-winning field goal, something about Townsend and what he picked up off the ground. Any thoughts on that?
Great question, Tyler. So I also got tweeted about that numerous times. So Townsend, after the kick, you see Harrison Butker goes and celebrates, and Tommy Townsend picks something up off the ground, and then he runs over and celebrates, and everybody's like, what's this, what's this, what's this? And I was not somebody that did this, but there is something that has been happening for a long time where, for instance, with that stadium, I think they were kicking on either a yellow paint or a blue paint or a blue field, and guys will have like a white piece of turf that they'll put down there as the spot. So it's like something for them to guide to. Whoa. And with that new stadium, I would assume there wasn't a lot of white turf that was just being pulled out of there, and guys will hang on to it. It might be a chunk of pieces of turf, like 3 or 4 of them, and it just put it down, and that's like the spot for them to aim for. I don't think it's illegal. It's been happening for a very, very long time. I was not somebody that did it, but I would assume that's what Tommy Townsend is doing. This is his first year holding. Maybe Butker and Colquitt did this before, and Butker told him, like, hey, here's an easy way, or not first year holding in general, but first year holding for Butker. So I think that's what it was, but people were trying to be like, hey, bringing foreign objects on it. They put a T out there. It's like, I can understand your frustration, but I think it is strictly that, just a piece of turf turf that you would, find on the field. Some guys will grab turf if it's a grass field just from right behind them, and they'll just put it out there and be like, okay, here's the spot. Because if they want to dry their hands or whatever while the kicker's lining up, he still sees where the spot is. For the holder, it's a little piece of an eye candy. But for me, I didn't like that. Okay, I don't need anything. All right, Vinny, you need anything? No, I don't need anything either. Okay, let's go for it. But there's a lot of guys that do that.
Hey, should Anthony Lynn have called that timeout before? A little bit earlier so he didn't get a practice kick to get another one through?
I believe that is the smart move, but the coaches try to do it last second, so it kind of like fucks with him a little bit. But Butker said getting a chance to see the ball, see where it turned was just an extra practice rep almost for him. So I think there's a couple different strategies. For me, you would never want that person to get a practice rep off, because if they see the way the ball flies, and maybe they get their jitters out, by the way, and just go ahead and hit a miss hit one, and you bounce back. There's a reason why the mulligan in golf is so important. There's a reason why if you shoot a ball a couple times, the second one's probably going to fall if you miss the first one. That's the type of like muscle memory and adjustments that these guys can make. So I think, by the way, there was a big couple years ago, they tried to change the rule that if a timeout's called and the snapper can't snap the ball and kick it, because there was a big controversy that people called timeout, and like 3 seconds afterwards, the snapper would snap it, the holder would hold it, and they kick it. It got to a point where refs would start sprinting in. It was like that big of a deal. And now it's like if you call it too close and the ball is in the act of snapping or near snapping or something like that, they're allowed to do it. So I would not have let him hit it. And by the way, I probably wouldn't call a timeout. I'd let him go ahead in there and just bury himself or make it. Like, hey, make the kick or not.
Well, it's like in basketball.
Aren't those kickers, though? Like, don't you think those kickers are sitting there wondering on the first kick, like, all right, this is probably going to get blown dead?
Butker said he knew that they had a timeout. So it was something that he was potentially thinking about, but they're just trying to make the kick. I would assume that they're going full op every single time. Like, hey, I'm just trying to kick it here. What you say?
I was say like a basketball, when dudes shoot it after the whistle, and then like if someone's standing under the hoop, they'll jump up and so they can't see it go in.
Yeah, because once you see that ball go in, hey, that's quite a weapon to be like, all right, if I just hit that same ball, by the way, we're good for 10, 15 yards. I could probably swing a little bit easier here if I have to. Yeah, I wouldn't let him. That's a good question there. The icing thing has mixed reviews since the beginning on whether or not it works or not.
I think the threat of the icing can do enough like to a kicker's mental game if he's not, mentally tough. Like, I can imagine how difficult it would be to go try to make a long game winner, and you're wondering, you got to somehow block that out of your mind. Like, hey, this might get called dead, but maybe not. Like, just the thought, if you're thinking about all that, I could see how it could mess you up.
Butker said that since there's no fans in the stands, that he could very much hear the Chargers chirping. Like it's a practice rep, though. That happens in practice every single day. D linemen screaming things at the kicker. I mean, he said that's taking up another step even because it's the other team or whatever. I couldn't even fathom what was being said out there today. To Harrison Butker. That would be awesome to catch that, whatever the hell it was.
But how pumped is the rest of his team? Like, how to hit the kicks like that to win and just to look like it was the easiest thing he's ever done. Like, how much does that team love him for the rest of the season?
Well, because you can do it in practice all that you want. You do it in practice, cool. And now Butker's obviously kicked in a Super Bowl. He's been very good his entire career. But let's say that's a new kicker. You see him in practice hitting balls, you're like, hey, this is our guy. And then he gets in a game and misses. There's some people that are going to be like, oh, this fucking guy.
Get him out.
But that's why I don't think I saw the Chiefs fans kneeling, holding hands like – I don't think there was a lot of like prayers happening during that kick, which sometimes happen, which I think is even bigger sign of respect for him. It's like, hey, listen, we don't even need to call whichever God we believe in for this one. Like, Butker's got it. We're all good. We're in a good spot. I like Butker a lot. His mindset of having to be pissed off, by the way, like the timeout, like he like got pissed off about it. He was like, when I kick and I'm mad, I just kick a lot better. I'm like, all right, I like this guy. I like the way you do. Not me, by the way. I just kind of go out there and we're doing our thing here. Let me go ahead and bomb a ball or whatever. But I like that he's like, yeah, I got to get pissed off. I've tried doing like the calm, cool thing, and it's just not my style. I like it. You do what you got to do. Final poll results, Zito, for the Big Ten. What is the internet saying? Will they finish their season or not? A lot of controversy. They're going to the spring. They're coming back to the fall. What does the internet think whether or not they're going to finish it?
That's a big no.
Yikes. Yeah. Yikes, that's tough. 68% to 32%, 11,000 votes, not too shabby. Big Ten does not move the needle, by the way.
It doesn't. College football in general
does not move the needle. I don't think Big Ten people, by the way, use YouTube, which
They do not.
I can respect, I guess. But we put out a Big Ten video. It gets 0 views. 0. Just
You think it's just an older demo? Like the fans are older?
yeah.
Is that what it is?
I don't know. I have no idea.
A lot of them were picketing during the times that we
you're
were
right.
actually
not on their phones. They're out there moving poster boards.
The
and
general
stuff.
calling people.
Yeah.
You know,
Hell no. We want to go. Yo.
play football.
Big time.
Big time.
All right. No juice. I got no juice. Chris Mad Dog Russo. No juice. No juice. LeBron might give you some juice. LeBron might give you some juice. NFL will carry a little bit. Callers, not too bad. You like callers? They got some juice. Got some juice. Chris Mad Dog Russo was awesome talking to him. Speaking of awesome, anybody that joins the McAfee Mafia and becomes a member, we appreciate you so much. You are awesome. There will be full episodes of The Pod, which is the other podcast that comes out of this office, hosted by the boys here. Those will be behind the McAfee member. Clips of that will still be released every single week. The entire show will be available to all McAfee Mafia members. Also, there's a discount code for our store.patmcafeeshow.com that will probably save you more money than what you're paying to become a McAfee Mafia member. There's special emotes, and there'll be exclusive watch-alongs and more content as the studio at my house, by the way, finishes next Tuesday.
All right.
Had to get it's not just the building of the studio. Tim McAfee's been in there every single morning. The internet company, turns out, they gave us a 15-hour window next Tuesday. That they
that's nice
for them.
Yeah, very nice of them. So that'll start next Tuesday. We'll start offering more exclusive content from the house, Q&As. The boys will come over, maybe some video game stuff, maybe big game watch-alongs, you name it. All those for McAfee Mafia members. We can't thank you enough. For myself, AJ Hawk, all the boys, you're the best for watching. Be a friend, tell a friend. We'll see you mañana.